Chapter 2140. What do you think? Mr. Chin held his coffee cup and looked at his daughter lovingly. I think we should give him something special. After all, Uncle Tang's family is super rich. He won't lack luxury brands, right? You have a point. Chin Chu nodded. So, what should we give him? Huamin didn't know what to do. Picking out birthday gifts for Su Yu, Tang Chuan, and Wei Liao was the most annoying thing. After all, they weren't like Xiao Wei and Lingling, who knew what they liked and were happy for a long time. They weren't like her husband, Mr. Chin, and her brother, Ji Xin, who didn't care if she didn't give them a gift. I have an idea, do you guys want to hear it? Little Bean asked in her baby voice. Huamin found it funny that Little Bean still had cream on the corner of her mouth. He picked up a tissue and wiped it off for her. Baby, go ahead. Huamin patted Little Bean's head lovingly. I think the first step of giving a gift is to cater to his tastes. Little Bean raised her little fist and slowly said confidently. Pudding rolled her eyes at her. Isn't that obvious? Get to the point. The point is, since Uncle Tang likes girls so much, we should give him girls. Little Bean said happily. Chin Chu, Huamin, Pudding, so, where are the girls? Little Bean, how about a blow-up doll? Jixin's sister's face and Bing Bing's body. Uncle Tang will definitely be happy. Ahem. Little Bean, come here. Let's talk. When did you know about blow-up dolls? Huamin, as a mother, was embarrassed and didn't feel good. Mommy, don't be so surprised. Isn't this something that everyone knows? Little Bean was speechless. A blow-up doll won't work. It's too big and cheap. Uncle Tang might not like it. Plus, there are so many girls in real life. Why would he use a blow-up doll? What a joke. Pudding disagreed with Little Bean's opinion. Chin Chu rubbed his forehead. He suddenly felt that the topic the children were discussing was too profound. He was so impressed that he didn't know how to interrupt. Why don't we sing a song together? Pudding suggested. That's good, saving money is the way to go. Little Bean raised her hand in agreement. You too. Is this really okay? Isn't it a little too obvious? You both remember to buy a belt for Su Yu when you go to America. However, it's Tang Chuan's birthday, and the two of you didn't pay a single cent, and only sang a song. Is that really okay? Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mommy, we don't sing that easily. With our current net worth, we've turned down countless children's product endorsements. Our appearance fees are worth at least tens of millions. We can sing for Uncle Tang, and that's something that can't be bought with money. He should be happy. Pudding said proudly. Okay, you have a point. Huamin didn't want to argue with Pudding anymore. She realized that Pudding's eloquence was terrifying. Sometimes, she and Chin Chu were rendered speechless. At 6:00 that night, Chin Chu drove his white Maybach to the entrance of the hotel with his wife and twins. The gossipy reporters surrounded them and began to take photos and interview them. It was rare for Mr. Chin to be in such a good mood. He and Huamin each held their daughter's hands and walked inside discreetly. Everyone, we're live streaming the birthday banquet of Mr. Tang, the richest man of the century. Mr. Chin Chu, the president of GK Corporation, and his wife, Huamin, are present. They're accompanied by their twins, who rarely show their faces. The host said excitedly. As soon as the family of four walked in, Pudding suddenly turned her head and saw a familiar figure. Hey, look! That person looks like Auntie. Pudding frowned slightly. Chapter 2141. If Pudding didn't mention it, no one would have noticed. Hearing her shout, Chin Chu and Huamin immediately turned their heads to look. Sure enough, Qin Ning was wearing a short black evening gown, red high heels, and light makeup. She was dressed very delicately, but she still looked like a queen, cold and beautiful. That really looks like Ning Ning, Huamin said. At this time, Qin Ning also saw everyone. She immediately walked over with a luxury brand handbag in her hand. Bro, sis-in-law. Kids, hee, good evening. Auntie, shouldn't you be on the plane at this time? Pudding asked curiously. Didn't you guys watch the news? Because of the heavy snow, the flight was cancelled, and it was changed to the day after tomorrow. Qin Ning said helplessly. We didn't pay attention to that. We spent the whole day shopping, Huamin suddenly realized. Auntie, is that why you're dressed so beautifully for Uncle Tang's birthday party? Pudding chuckled. Did you call your dad and tell him? Qin Chu was more worried about the situation in the States. Yeah, I told him. It's because of the weather. Dad will understand. Qin Ning nodded. That's weird. It's snowing so heavily all of a sudden. But it's a good thing. You can stay for 2 more days. Let's go in together. Huamin held Qin Ning's hand intimately and walked in. Tang Chuan was unusually low-key today. He only wore a dark blue slim-fit suit with 8/4 sleeves and pants that were very fashionable. He looked good no matter how he dressed. It was almost 6:00 and the hotel's banquet hall was already crowded. Tang Chuan said that he wanted to keep a low profile this time. However, it still shocked the media and the entire aristocratic circle. Many members of the Tang family were present. Other than Tang Chuan's father and second uncle, his aunts and uncles, as well as his cousins, were all present. Tang Chuan was busy greeting some guests. He unintentionally turned his head and saw Qin Chu and the others. He immediately walked over to greet them. President Qin, Dr. Hua, welcome. The twins are so cute today, they're so beautiful. Tang Chuan squatted down and pinched Pudding and Little Bean's cheeks. Then, she looked at Qin Ning with a smile. This dress suits you very well. It's amazing. Thank you. Qin Ning never liked to talk nonsense and maintained the Qin family's usual arrogant style. Everyone, come in and take a seat. There will be a performance in a while, and then the dishes will be served at 8:00. Lord Su, Master Wei, and the others are all inside. Oh right, sister-in-law Xiao Wei will be here soon. She drove to pick up Yun Chu. Tang Chuan smiled. Huamin nodded. Then, the family walked inside, but Qin Ning was stopped by Tang Chuan. Hey, don't go yet. Ning Ning, I need your help. What? Qin Ning looked confused. Well, as you know, my English is still very good. There are a lot of foreign friends here today. Can you help me translate by my side, okay? After the birthday party, I'll definitely thank you, Tang Chuan said coquettishly. Do you think I'm uneducated? You studied abroad for 6 years. You stayed in the US for so long, and you can't speak English. No one will believe you. So, you have to look at who you're lying to, okay? After all, you're a pig, but I'm not. Qin Ning looked at him with disdain. So, which little bastard told you about me studying abroad? Tang Chuan looked at Qin Ning sadly. Chapter 2142. Do you think I'm stupid? I don't know how to check. Qin Ning rudely shook off his hand and walked away arrogantly. Tang Chuan slapped his forehead hard. It seemed like he had underestimated Qin Ning. It seemed that he would have to change to another move in a while. Chin Chu and the others were arranged to sit in the first row. When the twins saw Suyu, they immediately ran over to him. One on the left and one on the right, they sat on Suyu's thighs, almost riding on his neck. "Handsome Su, did you miss me?" Little Bean asked cutely. "Of course. How much did you miss me?" "I missed you so much." "I missed you so much," Suyu replied with a smile. "Humph. I don't believe you. If you missed me so much, why didn't you call me or send me a WeChat message? You're so fake." Little Bean was unhappy. Before Little Bean could finish, Pudding put her arms around Suyu's neck and said coquettishly, "Why did you come here first? You didn't even come to pick us up. Aren't you guys with Daddy and Mommy today? What do you think of this dress?" Pudding pointed at the new dress they bought today. Pudding's dress was black and Little Bean's was white. One black and one white, it was simple yet elegant. "It's great." Suyu gave her a thumbs up. "What about my auntie's dress? Does it look good?" Pudding purposely gave Suyu a hard time. "Your auntie." When Pudding said this, he suddenly remembered that there was someone behind them. "Huh? Didn't she come back today?" Suyu was also confused. If he remembered correctly, Chi Ning said in the WeChat group that day that she couldn't come back and was coming back today. She didn't come back. The plane was delayed and the flight was cancelled. Little Bean explained. "Oh." Suyu thought about it. "So, does your auntie's dress look good?" Pudding wouldn't let Suyu off the hook. "It looks good." Suyu was still a little uncomfortable. Just then, Chi Ning walked over. There was an empty seat next to Suyu and close to the twins. She sat down and greeted Suyu naturally. "Hi." "Hi." Suyu responded politely and then they stopped talking. When the opening dance was about to end, Jiang Xiaowei and Zhu Lingling rushed over. Jiang Xiaowei brought Wei Yunchu, but Zhu didn't bring Gao Buiyuan. "What's going on twos to the twins to do to come to the twins to the twins to the twins? Little to the twinses, Zhu s to the twinses to the twins to see to the kids to the twins to see to the kids to the twins, Su have to be." When Huamin, Jiang Xiaowei, and Zhu Lingling sat together, they had endless topics to talk about. On the other hand, Qin Chu and Wei Liao were obsessed with their phones. They lowered their heads and didn't say anything. Their phones controlled everything. Huamin thought the twins were joking when they said they wanted to sing a song. To his surprise, after the opening dance and the MC speech, the twins really went on stage. Pudding told Suyu her idea, and Suyu called the backstage staff to arrange for the twins to go on stage. There were at least 700 or 800 people present, and all of them were reputable people. The twins walked on stage without any fear. Holding hands, they immediately caused a stir in the audience. "Wow, whose kids are they? They're so cute. They're twins. They look exactly the same. They're so beautiful. I think they're President Qin's daughters. Their genes are really strong. Are they going to perform? I'm looking forward to it. They're so cute." Everyone was talking about the twins. Tang Chuan finally had time to breathe. He sat down next to Suyu and glanced at Qin Ning. "Are you hungry?" Qin Ning shook her head and smiled. "Are you cold?" "I'll get you a jacket," Tang Chuan asked again. "No, thank you," Qin Ning refused. Suyu finally couldn't stand it anymore and said, "Young Master Tang, can't you just watch the show quietly? It's time for Pudding and Little Bean to perform. Can you show some respect to us twins?" Chapter 2143. Okay. Who dares to disobey Lord Su? After hearing Su Yu's words, Tang Chuan didn't dare to look at Qin Ning anymore. He turned his head and looked at the stage. Pudding and Little Bean stood in the middle of the stage with microphones in their hands. Hello everyone, we are the daughters of GK Corporation's president, Mr. Qin Chu, and Ms. Hua Min. My name is Qin Zhao Zhao, and I'm 3 years old. Hello everyone, my name is Qin Mumu, and I'm 3 years old too. We are twins, the sisters introduced themselves in unison. The audience was immediately captivated by their cuteness. Warm applause immediately sounded. Hua Min licked her lips and looked at the cute twins on the stage, radiating the aura of a mother. Qin Chu stopped playing with his phone and looked at the stage with a serious expression. His eyes were full of tenderness. Pudding said, "Today is a special day." Little Bean said, "Yes, it's the handsome Uncle Tang Chuan's birthday." Pudding said, "We want to give him a special gift." Little Bean said, "He'll love it for sure. After all, we put so much effort into it." When the sisters said this, the audience couldn't help but laugh. Qin Ning also covered her mouth and couldn't stop laughing. Pudding and Little Bean are so awesome. Su Yu was so happy that it was as if the girls on the stage were his biological daughters. He couldn't wait to show them off to everyone. Tang Chuan was also captivated by their cuteness and kept clapping. Pudding said, "On behalf of my daddy and mommy, and on behalf of GK Corporation, we wish Uncle Tang Chuan a happy birthday. We also wish everyone here a happy family and all the best." Little Bean said, "Music, let's go." A familiar melody came from behind them. It was a Cantonese song that was quite nostalgic. It was called Next Stop, Queen of Heaven. It was sung by a famous Hong Kong duo, the Pretty Sisters. Back in the day, they were also very popular. What they didn't expect was that the 3-year-old twins would choose such a sentimental song. Many people in the audience who were born in the 70s, 80s, and even the 90s couldn't help but sing along. Pudding was the first to open her mouth. The moment she opened it, everyone was stunned. It was simply the sound of nature. More importantly, the Cantonese pronunciation was extremely accurate and the melody was very stable. At this time, Hua Min was a little proud. He suddenly felt that the twins' piano and voice lessons were not in vain. Little Bean also sang very well. Her voice was softer than her sisters', and each had their own characteristics. The atmosphere of the audience reached a climax as soon as the match started. This was something that even Tang Chuan did not expect. Qin Ning was so touched that she couldn't stop mumbling to herself. "My 2 nieces are incredible, they've become spirits. They're both mic hogs and can sing a lot of songs. Among them, they can sing Frozen's theme song in 9 languages. It's very good. Don't make a fuss about it." Su Yu crossed her arms in front of her chest proudly. "Oh my god, my daughter-in-law is amazing. She's going to enter the music industry in the future." Zhu Lingling exclaimed. Hua Min laughed. "Now she's your daughter-in-law again. Didn't she say that she wanted to break off the engagement with us?" "No, we won't. We'll lose out if we break off the engagement. After all, we're marrying the daughters of the super rich." Even Gao Ran said that being a government official is too tiring. Wouldn't it be great if Bui Yuan followed his father-in-law to run GK Corporation? Your Gao Ran sure is delusional. Mr. Qin said faintly. The 2 of us have always been the type to dream about things. It's not like you don't know that." Zhu Lingling laughed wildly. At this time, Hua Min secretly held Mr. Qin's hand. Then, she asked him secretly, "Mr. Qin, to be honest, at this moment, do you feel proud of your excellent daughters?" Chapter 2144. Qin Chu held Hua Min's hand tightly and warmly. Then, he looked at her tenderly and said, "Of course. I want to thank Dr. Hua for giving birth to two beautiful and smart babies for me. I'm very grateful and satisfied." After hearing Mr. Qin's words, Min couldn't help but lean her head on Mr. Qin's shoulder. "Hey, someone's torturing us again." "That's crazy," Zhu Lingling protested. Jiang Xiaowei immediately grabbed Wei Liao's hand and leaned on his shoulder as well. She smiled and said, "Thank goodness my husband was here. I didn't get tormented." "You too. You're so disloyal." "Humph," Zhu Lingling scolded. Not far away, Su Yu and Qin Ning also looked over. Qin Ning suddenly remembered Su Yu's feelings for her sister-in-law. She deliberately said, "My sister-in-law really loves my brother." Su Yu's eyes were slightly stung, but he still smiled and said, "Yeah, Qin Chu is very happy." When he said this, his expression was more of envy than jealousy. "Actually, you'll have someone like that too, as long as you're willing to let go of the past and start over." Qin Ning didn't know why, but she suddenly felt sorry for Su Yu. Maybe, but I'm happy with what I have now." After Su Yu said this, he turned his head and continued to watch the twins sing. He didn't look at Qin Chu and Min anymore. Min was immersed in her happiness. She had a daughter and a husband. She never dared to think that one day, her life would be so perfect. She suddenly thought of a joke that went viral on her WeChat friend circle. She said, "Hey, did you guys hear? If she loved a man, she would give birth to a daughter for him so that when he was 60 years old, there would still be someone to hug his neck and act coquettishly, criticize him for being disobedient, buy him warm shoes, buy him good wine, light his cigarettes, and accompany him to watch the evening news. If you hate a man, then give birth to a son for him. Let your son slam the table and smash the cup when he's 60 years old and ask him for a house, a car, money, a wife. If you hate him too much, then just give birth to two sons." After Min said this, Qin Ning burst out laughing. "Sister-in-law, why are you so talented?" Qin Ning said with a smile. "I didn't say it. It's a joke. It's spreading like wildfire on WeChat. You're bullying us because we don't have a daughter. Mian, you're too much. Let me cry for a while." Jiang Xiaowei joked on purpose. "Oh my, if my Chief Gao heard this, he would probably cry himself to death in the toilet." Zhu Lingling didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then, Mr. Qin looked at his wife calmly and said, "Honey, send it to me on WeChat. I want to post it on WeChat." Zhu Lingling, Jiang Xiaowei, Min, Qin Ning, when it comes to torturing single people daily, my brother is the best. Mian, remember this. Don't give birth to a son in the future. If you do, I'll make fun of you." Zhu Lingling looked unconvinced. "When I'm pregnant, this joke will be outdated. But I already have two daughters. So even if I have a son in the future, my daughters will still be around. There will still be someone to be our warm little jacket, one for each of us." La la la. Min was so proud that he stuck out his tongue to spite the other two. Jiang Xiaowei turned around and looked at Wei Liao lovingly. "Honey, let's go home and have a daughter too, okay?" "Honey, what if it's still a son?" Wei Liao said guiltily. Immediately, everyone burst out laughing again. Just then, someone shouted, "Tang Chuan, your third uncle and aunt are here." Everyone immediately looked over. Qin Ning saw that Tang Chuan's face immediately darkened. Chapter 2145. Those who knew Tang Chuan well knew that his third uncle and third aunt were taboo for him. Ever since that woman became his third aunt, she moved to another city and almost never had the chance to see her again. He didn't expect that the two of them would come back on such a special day. Do you want me to go with you? Su Yu was afraid that Tang Chuan wouldn't be able to hold it in, so he stood up to accompany him. Tang Chuan waved his hand. No, Lord Su, I'm fine. Tang Chuan stood up to greet his so-called third uncle and third aunt. The twins finished their performance and walked off the stage. Qin Chu immediately stood up to hug his daughters. Huamin and Qin Chu held their children and doted on them. Qin Ning looked at Su Yu curiously. Tang Chuan's third aunt, is she a young woman? She's tall and looks like a model. She's quite classy. Yeah, that's her. Tang Chuan had told Su Yu that he met Ji Ning at Chang'an Street with Qin Ning. So, Su Yu wasn't surprised at all. Is there something going on between her and Tang Chuan? That day, Qin Ning felt that Tang Chuan had almost lost control of his emotions when he saw that woman. Su Yu was silent for 3 seconds and decided to tell her the truth. Yes, that woman. She used to be the woman that Tang Chuan liked. How did she become his third aunt? Qin Ning felt that it was extremely melodramatic. Su Yu briefly explained the story. Qin Ning listened attentively. That's what happened. From then on, Tang Chuan changed completely. He became frivolous and playful. Actually, this wasn't his nature. He was a very loyal person. Unfortunately, he met a woman who cheated on him. Life is unpredictable. Su Yu sighed. Qin Ning sympathized with Tang Chuan. It turned out that in this world, there were women who were willing to abandon the people they liked for money and fame. To Tang Chuan, Jin Ying's appearance was torture. However, that woman didn't know her place and kept appearing in front of him. So there's a past like that. No wonder he's always so cheerful on the surface. It's to hide the pain in his heart. I understand now. Thank you, Su Yu. Qin Ning sincerely thanked Su Yu. You're welcome. Tang Chuan. He's not just playing around with you. Although it's not love at first sight, he definitely treats you with all his heart. After all, he's your brother and sister-in-law, so you don't have to worry about him hurting you. I'm not worried. You guys are worrying too much. After Qin Ning accidentally found out about Tang Chuan's past, she suddenly felt pity for the man who was always so cheerful on the surface. Or maybe it was compassion. In short, such a devoted man was once so naive and innocent, but he was betrayed. That kind of sadness was self-evident. Qin Ning suddenly remembered something she read on the internet a long time ago. I was once willing to blindfold my eyes and trust someone. Even if 10,000 arrows pierced through my heart, I would never regret it. But you must remember, after you hurt someone, there is no forgiveness. Qin Ning felt that the pain that Ji Ning caused to Tang Chuan could be described as 10,000 arrows piercing through his heart. All these years, he pretended to be happy and lived a life of luxury. But in reality, his heart was even more empty, right? Qin Ning suddenly realized that in this world, there was someone more pitiful than herself. When Tang Chuan walked over, Tang Chuan's third uncle, Tang Wenping, and his wife, Ji Ning, walked over hand in hand. Third uncle was wearing a black suit. He had a big belly and very little hair on his head. Although he couldn't be described as fat, he had indeed reached the age where he didn't have good looks. Ji Ning was the exact opposite. She was about the same age as Tang Chuan, less than 30 years old. Chapter 2146. She was in her prime, wearing a light red embroidered cheongsam that accentuated her graceful figure. Her arms were adorned with white fox fur, showing off her noble status. Little Chuan. Happy birthday. His third uncle did feel guilty for taking the woman from his nephew. Therefore, he had always felt guilty towards Tang Chuan and didn't dare to pick up Tang Chuan's father. Even if they had business dealings, they were just acquaintances. It was very awkward for them to no longer attend family gatherings. Third uncle, why are you here? Tang Chuan smiled faintly, looking calm and elegant. I'm here for business. I heard that you're having a birthday party here, so I came. I always knew that you like Porsche sports cars. Although this Porsche model isn't the most expensive, it's the latest model. I hope you like it. His third uncle reached out and handed him the keys to the Porsche. Tang Chuan looked down and smiled. It's okay, you're too kind. We're family, you don't have to be like this. I used to like Porsche very much, but I don't anymore. I've grown up, and my tastes have changed a lot. You can keep the car for third aunt. I appreciate your kindness. After Tang Chuan finished speaking, he deliberately looked at Ji Ning and smiled. Ji Ning and third uncle looked at each other. They didn't expect Tang Chuan to reject them so quickly. Don't just stand here. Come, let's go in and sit. Tang Chuan made an inviting gesture and invited them in. At this time, the performance was almost over, and the banquet began. Because it was a Western-style buffet, the atmosphere was very good. All the guests were holding champagne or red wine and chatting with familiar friends. Third uncle also went to Tang Chuan's father's place to catch up with some family members. Tang Chuan was a little depressed. He held a glass of red wine and hid in a corner. In fact, after all these years, he no longer resented third uncle. However, every time he saw Ji Ning, his heart was still in turmoil. It wasn't because he still loved her, but because when he saw her, he would think of some old memories. No matter if it was good or bad, they all came rushing back to him. This made Tang Chuan very unhappy. Ah Chuan. Ji Ning appeared behind him out of nowhere. Tang Chuan turned around and smiled. Third aunt, what can I do for you? Ah Chuan, happy birthday. Ji Ning raised her glass and took a sip. Thank you, third auntie. I'll drink, you can do whatever you want. Tang Chuan raised his glass and downed it. Ah Chuan. Your third uncle and I might be getting a divorce. Ji Ning's eyes were filled with sadness. Really? Congratulations. Tang Chuan smiled viciously. Perhaps Ji Ning didn't expect him to have such a reaction. Her eyes were a little shocked, and then they were immediately replaced by a faint sadness. I know you hate me. I brought this upon myself. Your third uncle has a mistress outside. He's tired of me. If I give him the child, he'll give me a large sum of money. Ji Ning said slowly. And then? Tang Chuan looked at her, amused. And then? I don't know. I don't have any plans for the future. Maybe after I finish the paperwork, I'll go abroad and relax for a while. Ah Chuan. I haven't forgotten all these years. Before Ji Ning could finish, Qin Chu came in. He didn't know when Qin Ning came over, but she intimately held on to Tang Chuan's arm. Honey, why are you here? Qin Ning asked gently. Happiness came too suddenly. Tang Chuan was slightly surprised at first, but he quickly recovered and smiled. It's nothing. There are too many people here, so I came out to have some peace and quiet. Chapter 2147. Everyone's waiting for you to cut the cake. Qin Ning smiled coquettishly. Looking at Qin Ning's bright smile, Tang Chuan felt like all the gloominess in his heart had been swept away. Before Tang Chuan could say anything, Qin Ning turned her head and looked at Ji Ning. Hi, Auntie Qin, right? We meet again. Qin Ning smiled brightly. Hello, and you are? My name is Qin Ning, Tang Chuan's fiancé. We met yesterday. Qi Ning smiled brightly as she introduced herself. Fiancé. Ji Ning was obviously shocked. Yes, she's about to become my wife. Qi Ning took the opportunity to put her arm around Qi Ning's waist and show off. But, your parents will agree. Ji Ning knew that Tang Chuan's family had always wanted a marriage alliance. Therefore, they shouldn't have found him a girl who didn't know anything and had no background. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Ning Ning is the sister of GK Corporation's president, Qin Chu. She's also an executive at GK's American headquarters. Her father is the CEO of GK's American headquarters, so she's from a prestigious family, no wonder. At this moment, jealousy flashed across Jin Ying's eyes. Auntie Qin, let's not talk about it anymore. We still have to cut the cake, so take it easy. Eat and drink well. After speaking, Qin Ning grabbed Tang Chuan's hand and ran away. Ji Ning and Qin Ning didn't have time to confess to Tang Chuan. She tightly gripped her wine glass. She had overestimated herself and thought that Tang Chuan still had her in his heart. She thought that she regretted it now and divorced his uncle Qin so that they could be together. Even if they weren't officially married, she could still be Tang Chuan's lover. Unfortunately, it seemed like there wasn't much hope. That girl named Qin Ning was too dazzling. She had an outstanding appearance, a powerful family, and the rarest thing was the warmth in Tang Chuan's eyes when he saw her. After Qin Ning pulled Tang Chuan far away, she immediately let go of his hand in disgust. Ha, fiancé, what's wrong? Tang Chuan was in a good mood. Who's your fiancé? Qin Ning rolled her eyes. I wonder who said it just now, hee hee, I'm trying to save you, you know. Don't push your luck, save me. Tang Chuan looked surprised. I know about what happened between you and Ji Ning. Qin Ning lowered her head and said slowly. Tang Chuan's expression changed at first, then he smiled deliberately. Ah, that matter. It happened a long time ago. Don't misunderstand. That woman is really just my third aunt now. Ha. I know. I just didn't want to see her bully you and be so arrogant. She clearly abandoned you, but she still pretended to be innocent and wronged. She's simply the Queen of Green Tea Bitches. Queen of Green Tea Bitches, that's a good title. She'll definitely like it. Tang Chuan smiled. Don't be so cheeky. Look at you, you usually look so domineering and manly. How could you just let them bully you? Chapter 2148. She's still alive in the photo. She's not dead. You're really mean with your words, I'm telling the truth. She's already dead in my heart. Although I'm a playboy, I don't have the habit of sleeping with my third aunt. I don't have the strange disease of recycling scrap metal. Okay, I'm relieved to see that you're still in such a good mood. Qin Ning was about to leave. However, Tang Chuan stopped her. What? Cut the cake with me. Before Qin Ning could reply, Tang Chuan grabbed her hand. They walked into the middle of the crowd. There was a 7-layer cream cake there. It was light blue and looked very beautiful. There were a few low-class words written on it. Mr. Tang, happy birthday, forever 18. She didn't know which rich tycoon had ordered it. Mr. Tang, make a wish, someone shouted. No, my wish has already been granted. Then, Tang Chuan held Qin Ning's hand and cut the cake with the knife. The crowd burst into thunderous applause. Then, Tang Chuan grabbed a handful of cream and blew it on Qin Ning's face. She was caught off guard. Uncle Tang is looking for trouble. Little Bean covered her eyes and couldn't bear to look at her auntie. He's so cruel. Auntie won't let him off this time, Little Bean exclaimed. Wei Liao put his arm around Jiang Shaowei's waist and laughed. This kid is so good because he dares to challenge other people's bottom line. Suyu crossed his arms and guessed, I bet 10,000 yuan that Qin Ning will kill him. Qin Chu, on the other hand, stood beside Huamian with a smile on his face. It was the first time he had seen Ning Ning get tricked. Tang! Chuan! Qin Ning was going crazy. This damn guy was biting the hand that fed him. She was being nice and gave him face in front of that woman. But now, he was covering her face with cream cake. Was there any justice in this world? Honey, I'm here. Tang Chuan looked at Qin Ning with a smile. You. Qin Ning didn't wait for her to speak. Tang Chuan picked up her hand, smeared a handful of cream cake on it, and then put it on his face. The onlookers immediately began to jeer. Oh, 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 oh. Mr. Tang is mighty and domineering. Uncle Tang is crazy. Pudding was also dumbfounded. What a waste of so much cream cake. If only I could eat it. Little Bean licked her lips. Please, the main point isn't the cream cake, okay? It's Uncle Tang and Auntie Tang. Look at their faces. Ouch, I can't bear to look at them. Pudding turned around and threw herself into her mommy's arms. Huamin and Qin Chu were also speechless. Did Tang Chuan's parents really know that he loved to play? Now we're even. I have. Tang Chuan grabbed Qin Ning's hand and rubbed it on his face. At this moment, Qin Ning's heart had already broken down. Was there anyone more disgusting than this? At this time, the audience suddenly counted down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. After the count of 1, the lights in the hall suddenly dimmed. The entire hall was only lit by the deep-sea orchid lights, which was extremely romantic and romantic. The only beam of light was rainbow-colored. It circled around Tang Chuan and Qin Ning, looking extremely cool. Everyone was shocked, looking at this scene. Siyut smiled and said, Mr. Tang, did you prepare an Easter egg for us? As soon as he said this, Tang Chuan suddenly lowered his head, ignoring the cream on his face, and kissed Qin Ning on the lips. Then, the audience went crazy. Chapter 2149. Wow, my uncle. The cake in Little Bean's hand fell to the ground. Pudding was also stunned. This was the best time she had ever seen Tang Chuan flirt with a girl. He flirted with her in front of the whole world. This was the highest level of flirting. No one had ever done it before. Suyu, Mr. Tang is awesome. Wei Liao, this guy has been playing with his heart since he was a kid. Zhu Lingling, I feel like I'm watching the finale of an idol drama. Jiang Xiaowei, right now, I want to know how Ning Ning feels. Huamin, it was a grand scene, and the effect was great. But I still feel like Tang Chuan is done for. Qin Chu, Emichim, the situation will change soon. Trust me. After a round of comments, the sudden kiss ended. Tang Chuan grabbed Qin Ning's hand, raised it up high, and announced loudly, Let me introduce you all to my fiancé, Qin Ning. This sentence once again set off a wave of excitement. Not far away, Jin Ying's expression became more and more unpleasant. Her best friend beside her whispered, When did Mr. Tang have a fiancé? What about you two? Jin Ning bit her lip and didn't say anything. Tang Chuan's mother was also shocked. Several elders in the Tang family asked her. When did this guy have a fiancé? Is he engaged? Why didn't the family announce it? Mrs. Tang, I'm not sure either. Qin Ning's brain was about to short-circuit. Maybe it was because her mother passed away early, but she started to do business with her father when she was very young. When she was 13, she started to sit in on the board of directors. When she was 18, she started to go to school and help her father with the business. Therefore, Qi Ning was busy with the family business and completely wasted her youth. When she was in the States, many white classmates and handsome Chinese guys pursued her, but she wasn't interested in any of them. So, Tang Chuan's kiss was indeed Qi Ning's first kiss. Never in her wildest dreams would she have imagined that one day, her first kiss would be snatched away so abruptly. Moreover, it happened in front of so many people. She was going crazy. When Qi Ning came back to her senses, she gritted her teeth and asked him in a low voice, "Bastard, who's your fiancé? Didn't someone just admit it?" Tang Chuan asked like a gangster. "I was helping you out of the goodness of my heart. But you actually bit the hand that fed you." "Bastard." Then, Qi Ning violently dragged Tang Chuan all the way to the lounge next door and slammed the door shut. Young people these days, they're so open-minded, that's right. It's understandable for young couples to be so passionate, hee hee. Tang Chuan's eyes Chuan, Qi Ning Tang Chuan's Tang Chuan, Tang, Chuan Tang. Chuan's Chuan. Chuan's Tang Chuan's Tang Chuan saw the murderous look in Qi Ning's eyes and began to run around the sofa. "I only kissed you once, you don't have to have such a big reaction." The two chased each other. It was a game of cat and mouse. It wasn't until the banquet ended that Qin Chu and Huamin saw Qi Ning come out. Her hair was messy and her dress was wrinkled, Pudding cupped her face in her hands in shock. "Oh my God, Auntie, what have you done? Why are you so embarrassed?" Chapter 2150. "I gave him a good beating," Qi Ning said confidently. "I'm fine. I thought you were taken down by someone else," Little Bean said with an innocent look on her face. Her words were rather dirty. "Qi Ning, what are you two thinking about all day? It's all over the place, let's go home. Your flight is delayed until tomorrow, right?" Qin Chu looked at his sister. Qi Ning nodded and was about to get into the car with her brother and sister-in-law. Tang Chuan followed them out with a bloody nose and a swollen face. "Ning, what? Did you think it wasn't good enough? Do you want to do it again?" Qi Ning waved her fist. She was a master of taekwondo. To prevent her from being kidnapped, her father trained her from a young age. So much so that with her slender figure, it wasn't a problem for her to easily take down 4 grown men. Therefore, beating up Tang Chuan was a piece of cake for her. Although Tang Chuan was well versed in martial arts, he didn't dare to fight back against Qi Ning. In the end, his face was covered in bruises and his handsome face was swollen like a pig's head. This was probably the most unforgettable birthday of his life. He was beaten up like this, but he didn't complain. Instead, he felt sweet. Ning, don't leave tomorrow," Tang Chuan said reluctantly. "No way." Qi Ning rejected him without hesitation. "But we're already like this and you're still leaving. Do you really have the heart to leave me behind?" Tang Chuan started to whine. "Tang Chuan, don't talk nonsense. What did we do? Don't take it out of context. You're making it sound like we're having an affair." Qi Ning was furious. "But I told the whole world that you're my fiancé." Tang Chuan felt wronged. "That's your business. It's none of my business. Bro, drive. Ignore him." Qi Ning got into the Maybach. Qin Chu looked back at Tang Chuan and started the car. Tang Chuan looked at the car driving away, still reluctant to leave. Come. Let me see how badly you've been beaten. Is it the head of a domestic pig or the head of a wild boar?" Su Yu jokingly hugged Tang Chuan. I don't care if you're a pighead or not. Either way, I've made a fortune today. If I'm not mistaken, that was Ning Ning's first kiss. Tang Chuan laughed evilly. Why do you say that? Su Yu was startled. Because she's stupid. She's like a dead fish. She doesn't even have any reaction. That only means that she doesn't know how. She doesn't have the energy to kiss. Ha. Anyway, I'm definitely the only man who's had skin contact with her. That's why you were also beaten to a pulp. Su Yu reminded him faintly. Beating him into a pig head isn't the main point. The main point is that I'm enjoying myself too, but isn't the price to pay for this pleasure a little too high? If you really do it in the same room, won't you be castrated afterwards? Su Yu joked. Of course not. She's still counting on me to make her happy. Chapter 2151. I drank too much and accidentally bumped into the door frame. Tang Chuan explained. How could you be so careless? Mom, do you need something? I'm going to have a drink with Lord Su, let's talk later. After speaking, Tang Chuan turned around and was about to leave. No, you have to go home tonight. There's something we need to talk about your fiancé. Mrs. Tang always spoiled her son, but this time, her tone was firm. Auntie wants you to go home, you should go. We'll drink another day. Su Yu immediately found an excuse and left. Tang Chuan followed his mother into the Bentley and headed back to the Tang Manor. The Tang Manor, that's what happened, that's what Ning Ning's identity is. Tang Chuan was surrounded by the Tang family and accused. Finally, he told them everything about him and Qin Ning. After hearing this, Mrs. Tang thought about it seriously. She does have a good family background. GK is a huge financial group, it's one of the top companies in both the US and China. But, will this girl last long with you? After all, she's so young, how long will she last? Mom, you're thinking too much. We're dating, why would we think about that? Plus, I don't like her because she's one of the heirs to GK. I just like her looks, body, temper, and personality. I'm telling you guys this so you don't have to worry. As for the rest, don't ask too many questions, just leave it to me, okay? I thought you were acting out today because of that bitch Jining. Mrs. Tang's face darkened. It's not like that. Jining and third uncle are here. I do feel sad, but I won't lose my composure. Things have changed with the passage of time. She's not as important to me as she thinks or I think she is. Please don't think too much of your son, okay? That's for the best. Mrs. Tang nodded. I heard from Brother Yulin that they're getting a divorce. They're going through the paperwork. Although Brother Yulin is a bit ridiculous and has a lot of women outside, Jining isn't easy to deal with either. Chuan, you should stay away from her. This was Tang Chuan's aunt's advice. I know, you don't have to worry about me. I don't want to meddle in third uncle's affairs. Whether it's business or personal matters, as a junior, I won't interfere. That's your business. Okay. I'm so sleepy, I'm going to sleep. After saying that, Tang Chuan got up, opened the door, and left. Tang Chuan was different from Su Yu. If Su Yu had nothing to do, he could go back to the Su family's old mansion and stay there for 1 or 2 nights. However, ever since Tang Chuan moved out, he never returned to the old house. He did not even come back for the new year. He was used to being independent. Tang Chuan drove all the way to his villa. She didn't even have time to take a shower. When she opened the door and came in, she took out her phone as she walked. She sent a message to Qin Ning. Tang Chuan, hello, Fiancé, are you asleep? Qin Ning, get lost. Tang Chuan, you told me to get lost, so I really did. If you regret it in the future, tell me to come back. I'll come back immediately because I didn't go far. Ha. Qin Ning, Tang Chuan, I'll stop messing around. Today, I want to say thank you. Thank you for giving me face in front of Jining. Qin Ning, just to thank you. Aren't you going to apologize? Obviously, Qin Ning was referring to the forced kiss she received. Tang Chuan, apologize. Why should I apologize? What's wrong with kissing my fiancé? Qin Ning, here we go again. Who's your fiancé? Don't flatter yourself. Tang Chuan, I have to keep my word. Miss Qin, you said it yourself. Are you going to go back on your word? I don't care. Anyways, from now on, you are my fiancé, the future daughter-in-law of the Tang family. Qin Ning, in your dreams. Tang Chuan, so, Ning Ning, don't leave. I'll miss you when you go back to the States. Qin Ning did not reply. After a while, she suddenly asked Tang Chuan, have you really forgotten about that woman? Chapter 2152. Seeing how serious Qin Ning was, Tang Chuan didn't joke around this time. He took off his tie, took off his suit, and threw it on the sofa. Then, he leaned against the corner of the sofa and seriously thought about this question. Then, he replied to Qin Ning, I have deep feelings for everything in the past, but I will never look back. This answer was a little unexpected for Qin Ning, but she was very satisfied with it. She understood Tang Chuan's current state of mind very well. If he said that he had already forgotten Jining and treated her like a stranger, it wasn't very likely. After all, she was the woman who had hurt him so deeply. Even now, Tang Chuan still had a big reaction when he saw Jining. Everyone saw this. If he said that he couldn't forget her, it might make Qin Ning feel uncomfortable in her heart. After all, they had just kissed today. Also, Tang Chuan really didn't keep Jining in his mind. After all, he wasn't that cheap. So, Tang Chuan's literary answer meant that when he was with that woman, he was really sincere. He was deeply in love with her, but his mentality now was that it was all in the past. There was no need to hold on to it, and he would never choose to forgive her or turn back. Qin Ning suddenly felt that his answer was quite manly. Seeing that Qin Ning didn't say anything for a long time, Tang Chuan asked tentatively, Miss Qin, are you satisfied with my answer? It's okay. Okay. My answer seems a little forced to you. Tang Chuan deliberately teased her. What do you think? Qin Ning sent an emoji with her tongue sticking out. Tang Chuan suddenly remembered something and sent her a voice message. He asked domineeringly, so, where's my birthday present? Crap. I think it's still in my handbag. Qin Ning was reminded by his words. Tang Chuan had a list of gifts in his hands. Who gave what? There were special staff members who counted and counted the gifts. Tang Chuan earned a lot of money on his birthday every year. He probably couldn't spend all this money even if he squandered it for a year. In order to please Tang Chuan's father, the family members would give him some expensive cars and houses. Some members of the upper class who had connections with Tang Core would also send gifts of gold, silver, and jewelry. Tang Chuan's friends kept sending him luxury goods, piling them up like a mountain. Su Yu, Wei Liao, and Qin Chu also gave us things that were worth at least 5 million renminbi. It almost blinded the eyes of us commoners. When Tang Chuan came back, he was holding the bill in his hand. He kept looking for Qin Ning's name, but it wasn't there. So this girl came empty-handed. Tang Chuan was very disappointed. He thought that as long as it was given by Qin Ning, even if it was a bowl of stinky tofu, he would eat it with tears in his eyes. But she didn't give him anything. Now that he reminded her, Qin Ning remembered that she had forgotten to give him anything. Originally, she had planned to give it to him before she left. But after that kiss, she was so focused on beating up Tang Chuan that she forgot that the present was still in her handbag. It's still in your handbag. Okay, you win. Tang Chuan was speechless. Qin Ning immediately took out her handbag and took out a small delicate box. She gently opened it. Inside was a pair of diamond cuffs. It was a custom-made luxury from a famous brand. It cost Qin Ning more than 200,000 renminbi. Qin Ning was afraid that Tang Chuan wouldn't believe her, so she took out her phone and took a picture and sent it to him. Let me show you the real thing. Otherwise, you'll think that I'm cheating you and going to your house to eat and drink, Qin Ning said proudly. Chapter 2153. Wow, it's beautiful. Tang Chuan's eyes lit up. He actually had a lot of diamond cuffs, but because Qin Ning was the one who picked them out, he was especially excited. How about I go get it now? Tang Chuan asked half-jokingly. Now? Don't joke around. What time is it? Don't come and disturb my brother and sister-in-law. How about this, I'm flying to the airport tomorrow. My brother and the twins will see me off. I'll give it to Pudding and let her see you off. After all, they see you all the time. That's so troublesome. How about this, I'll go get it from the States when I have time, Tang Chuan said. Get it from the States. Ahem. Don't joke around. How about I give it to my sister-in-law and she'll deliver it to you? Miss. Aren't you afraid that someone will replace such an expensive item? Can you be more careful? Tang Chuan laughed. Okay. I'll just leave it at my brother's house. I'll make sure they give it to you. I said I don't want it. Just put it in your bag. I go to the States often and I'll get it myself. I want you to give it to me in person, Tang Chuan insisted. Finally, Qin Ning gave in. Okay then, I'll keep it for now. Call me when you arrive in the States. I live in Los Angeles and fly to New York often. Call me when you arrive. Okay then, I'm going to bed. I'm so tired today. I might not be able to get up tomorrow, so I won't see you off. Okay. Although there was nothing going on between her and Tang Chuan, she was still disappointed that he wasn't going to see her off. She didn't know if all men liked to take advantage of her like this, but after the kiss, he stopped chasing her. Qin Ning put down her phone and pulled up the blanket, but she still didn't feel sleepy. After the twins came back, their grandma took them to shower and sleep. Huamin was much more relaxed. After taking a shower with Qin Chu, the two of them went to bed. Honey, what do you think happened today? Huamian still couldn't believe what she was seeing. Are you talking about Tang Chuan and Ning Ning? Qin Chu put his arm around her shoulder and asked. Huamin nodded. Yeah, I still think it's ridiculous. It's fine if young Master Tang messes around in private, but is it really okay for him to announce that Ning Ning is his fiancée? Will people think that GK is going to marry the Tang Corporation? Huamin suddenly thought of many things. If you want to, then so be it. It's not a bad thing for us. Tang Corp has always been financially strong, so it's better if we can work together. As for their private matters, I still stand by what I said. You don't think highly of Tang Chuan. Prejudice. Qin Chu smiled as he scratched Huamin's face, trying to guess what his wife was thinking. To his surprise, Huamin explained in all seriousness, that's not it. Chapter 2154. Honey, I just want to say that you're overthinking things. They haven't even started dating yet. From what I know about Ning Ning, she won't easily get into a relationship with someone. So, there's no need for that international romance. Even if there's a need, we'll talk about it later. Right now, what we need to do is sleep. Then, Chin Chu turned off the bedside lamp and hugged Huamin tightly from behind. The next morning, Huamin woke up early, ate breakfast, and drove to work at South Side. Chin Chu drove the twins and Chin Ning to the airport again. Pudding, Auntie, are you really leaving this time? Chin Ning, what? Are you impatient? Pudding, pfft, of course not. I want you to stay here forever. Chin Ning, forever. Are you greedy enough? Pudding, you're wrong. No matter how greedy we are, we're not as greedy as Uncle Tang. He kissed Auntie. Chin Ning, ahem. Let's not talk about that. After all, Auntie is leaving. Can't you guys leave Auntie with something good to remember? Pudding, okay, I'll let you go. Let's not talk about this with Grandpa Chin. Chin Ning was speechless. Thank you, little princess. Pudding, Auntie, we're about to board the plane. You should go through security. Pudding pointed at the VIP passage. Okay, I'm leaving. Why didn't Uncle Tang come to see you off? That jerk. He kissed me and ran away. Pudding complained. Ahem. It's good that he didn't come. If I saw him, I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to control myself and would beat him up. Chin Ning smiled awkwardly. At this time, Chin Chu handed Chin Ning a small boarding box. Go on in. Call us when you arrive. Okay, big brother. Take them home. I'll be fine. I have bodyguards with me. Chin Ning waved her hand and boarded the plane with the bodyguards. Chin Chu brought the twins out of the airport and boarded the Maybach. Pudding didn't forget to look up at the sky. Yes, it's a sunny day with blue sky and white clouds. I believe there won't be any more snowstorms. Andy should be able to go back smoothly this time. Daddy is going to the company in a while. Do you want to go home or follow me to the company? Chin Chu looked at the twins dotingly. Daddy, I have an idea, but I'll only tell you if you promise not to scold me. Little Bean licked her lips. Act first and report later. Did you learn this from your mommy? Chin Chu smiled. Huamin had once used this method to deal with him. Everything he did, he would first ask for a death-free gold medallion before committing a mistake. Do you agree or not? Little Bean whined. Yes, as long as it's what you want, Daddy will agree. Mr. Chin was a true slave to his daughter. I want to go to Imperial Star with my sister. Little Bean said tactfully. Chin Chu was speechless. Are we going to see Su Yu? He asked. Yes, we haven't been with handsome Su for the past few days, so we want to go to Imperial Star to see him, okay? Although he was a little jealous, he couldn't stop his love for his daughters. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, okay, I'll drive you there first. Then, Chin Chu drove the twins to Imperial Star. Pudding was so excited that she secretly sent Su Yu a WeChat message. She wrote, we'll be at your company in 40 minutes. Get ready to pick you up. Su Yu immediately replied, yes. After Chin Ning boarded the plane, she went straight to the first-class cabin. As soon as she sat down, she heard a faint voice beside her. Hey, Ning Ning, what a coincidence. Chin Ning turned her head and almost went crazy. Chapter 2155. You. Why are you here? Qi Ning was so shocked that she stuttered. She didn't expect to see Tang Chuan here. Moreover, he was sitting right next to her. Did he have to be so dramatic? I'm here to get my birthday present. Tang Chuan deliberately stuttered like Qi Ning. Really? If you got your present, you could have just come to the airport. Why did you have to get on the plane? Qi Ning felt that this kid's explanation was simply unreasonable. That's because I want to go to Los Angeles. Although I've been to Disneyland more than 30 times, but I suddenly want to go again. Okay, you win. Qi Ning finally admitted defeat. No matter what, Tang Chuan was already on the plane. It was impossible to chase him off. Where's my birthday present? Tang Chuan shamelessly stretched out his hand. Qi Ning sat next to him, opened her bag, took out a small box, and handed it over. Here, for you. Don't make it seem like I owe you a present. Qi Ning threw it over. Tang Chuan opened the box and looked at it lovingly. Then, he pretended to exclaim when he saw the label, "Wow, it's so expensive. Miss Qin, you're so rich. Please keep me, Qi Ning, Tang Chuan, please keep me. I'm good-looking and not clingy." Qi Ning, do you believe that if you continue to be so flirtatious, I'll ask my bodyguards to throw you out? Tang Chuan, I believe you. Qi Ning thought that this long-distance flight would be extremely boring. She didn't expect Tang Chuan to interfere. No wonder he didn't come to the airport to see her off. It turned out that there was such a big surprise. No matter what Tang Chuan's purpose was, Qi Ning felt that his appearance in the United States was undoubtedly a surprise. At least the journey was no longer lonely. On the other side, at the headquarters of Imperial Star, Su Yu and An were already waiting at the entrance of the company. The staff at the front desk all thought that they were greeting a big client. Otherwise, President Su wouldn't have come down personally. Su Yu kept looking at his watch and muttered to himself, I guess there's a traffic jam. Otherwise, it wouldn't take so long. President Su, don't worry. President Qin is personally escorting them. The twins will be fine. Yes, I know. And wanted to come down and pick her up himself, but he knew that President Su would be worried, so the two of them stood there for 10 minutes. Not far away, a white Maybach slowly drove over and finally stopped at the entrance of the group headquarters. Su Yu immediately opened the back door and carefully carried Pudding and Little Bean out one by one. Qin Chu didn't get out of the car. He just rolled down the window. If you're busy, give me a call. I'll send someone to pick them up. I'm not busy today. Let the two of them play here. Su Yu smiled. Qin Chu nodded. Thank you. He was indeed a proud god. He only said 2 words. His words were as precious as gold. It's fine, it's not hard at all. After greeting Qin Chu, Su Yu held the twins' hands and walked in. The twins were wearing the same clothes today. They were wearing Huamin's arm, tight black spandex pants, and white snowshoes. On top of that, they wore a red cloak with tassels, looking very elegant. Their long hair was down, and each of them wore a small black top hat. They were super stylish. Some of the staff knew that President Su treated the twins as if they were his own. Some of the new employees didn't know and thought that they were little models hired by Imperial Star to shoot commercials. Su Yu brought the twins into the office today. Handsome Su, I want to eat macarons. Little Bean began to whine as soon as they entered the office. Chapter 2156. But your mommy said she doesn't like you eating too much sweet food. Su Yu was a little hesitant. But I like it. Also, Mommy isn't here. If you don't tell her, she won't know. Little Bean rolled her eyes and began to shake Su-Yu's will. Then you can only eat one, okay? I'll take you guys to eat something better for lunch. Okay. Little Bean immediately nodded. Pudding, what color do you like? Su-Yu turned around and asked. Pudding leaned against the leather sofa and played a game on her phone. She replied proudly, I don't want to eat. I want to maintain my figure. Su-Yu gave her a thumbs up. Good job, girl. I've decided to think about maintaining my figure in 20 years. Little Bean said confidently. 20 years. Is there still time? Su-Yu smiled. Of course there's still time. In these 20 years, I don't plan to fall in love early. Little Bean made up her mind. Su-Yu was about to praise her for being a good child. Then, Little Bean added, I want to eat to my heart's content in these 20 years. I want to eat all the delicacies on earth, Su-Yu, pudding, so. Handsome Su, where's my macaron? Little Bean asked as she blinked her big eyes. N. Su-Yu had just called out to N when he heard N's voice. And immediately understood. You're still going to that store to buy it. Does Little Bean like pink macarons? You're so smart, Uncle N. I love you. Little Bean immediately blew in a kiss. Seeing that she had become so spineless because of food, Pudding sighed in disappointment. I really don't have a choice to be your sister, don't sigh. Only a fatty like me can show off your figure. If you meet a tall, rich, and handsome guy in the future, you can flirt with him first. You can leave the rest to me. Little Bean even learned how to give in. Thank you, but I don't need it. Pudding glanced at her and continued to play games on her phone. Su-Yu sat at his desk and continued to work, looking at the documents. Pudding was playing with her phone, Little Bean was eating macarons, and then was guarding the door. The four of them were in the same space, but it was actually very quiet. It had to be said that it was incomparably harmonious. At 11:30, Su-Yu looked at his watch and put down his work. You must be hungry. What do you want to eat? Soy sauce soup, kimchi, sushi rolls. Pudding put down her phone and listed 3 dishes in a serious tone. I agree. Little Bean's style was that as long as there was food, she would agree. Deal, then I'll take you to the Korean cuisine at the back street. Let's go. Su-Yu was about to leave with the twins and Shaoan in high spirits. She saw Jian Tong wearing a long leather jacket and a pair of sunglasses walking towards her. Pudding, Little Bean. When did you guys get here? Jian Tong smiled like a blooming flower. I've been here for a long time. Pudding answered indifferently. Auntie is in the studio shooting a photo today. I didn't know you guys were coming. Why didn't you tell me? We're going to eat now. What's up? Su-Yu looked up and asked faintly. Oh, I was just about to eat with you. President Su. I have some work matters to discuss with you. Can we talk while we eat? Jian Tong tried to use work as an excuse. It's Handsome Su's private time right now. He's busy enough every day. Can't you let him have a quiet meal? You can talk about it when he comes back. Right now, he just wants to have a quiet meal. Pudding was more sharp-tongued. Jian Tong froze for a second. Then, she felt a bit awkward and a bit unhappy. So, do you still want to eat with us? After all, we don't welcome you. Little Bean looked at Jian Tong innocently and added insult to injury. Chapter 2157. Everyone knew that Pudding and Little Bean didn't like Jian Tong. In front of Su-Yu, Jian Tong was embarrassed by the two little girls. So, she smiled awkwardly. Oh. If that's the case, you guys can go eat first. I'll talk to President Su about work after he's done. Su nodded, satisfied with Jian Tong's performance. Just like that, Su and the twins took the elevator downstairs, and then followed behind them. They were at a Korean restaurant in the back street. The elegant private room was decorated with tatami mats. The twins sat on one side, and Su and An sat on the other. They looked at each other, and it looked quite formal. After the dishes were served, they ate and chatted. And told Su some things about the company, and the twins listened quietly and didn't speak. Finally, Pudding wiped the corner of her mouth with a tissue. Handsome Su. I have an important question to ask you. Ha. Okay. Su nodded. My Auntie Qin Ning was going to marry you, but Uncle Tang took her away. Don't you feel uncomfortable at all about that? Su smiled. Hearing this, Little Bean also felt it was unfair. Handsome Su, I don't want to criticize you, but look at Uncle Tang's flirting skills. Look at you. You're so different. No girl will like you. You're so unromantic. Su, and the problem is that your auntie isn't my type. Tang Chuan asked me this question in private. We're so close that he definitely won't try to steal her away. So, he asked me if I wanted to develop a relationship with Qin Ning. But I'm really not interested in her. So, since Tang Chuan likes her very much, why shouldn't I help them? Su had explained many times, but since the twins didn't want to give up, he had to explain more. That night, Tang Chuan kissed Qin Ning forcefully and became the center of attention. After returning, Wei Liao sent a WeChat message to Su to ask for his opinion. In fact, he really didn't have any thoughts about it. What he really wanted was to see Huamin acting coquettishly with Qin Chu, which made him feel uncomfortable. However, when he saw Tang Chuan kiss Qin Ning, he didn't feel anything. Instead, he felt happy for Tang Chuan. After all, he had finally found his true love. Huamin was the woman he had secretly loved for more than 4 years. They had experienced so much together over the past 4 years, and it had long been engraved in his heart. As for Qin Ning, everyone thought that they might be suitable for each other, so they decided to pair him up as a couple. However, love didn't make sense. If everyone felt that it was suitable, then it would definitely happen. Perhaps there wouldn't be so many single men and women in this world. Wouldn't the world be at peace if they went on blind dates 100%? Okay, it seems like Handsome Su really doesn't like Auntie. Pudding was a bit disappointed. Forget it, sis. Fate is a strange thing. We can't decide who Handsome Su likes, it has to be deep in our hearts. Just like when Handsome Su liked Mommy. Many people don't know why such a powerful person would fall in love with a little nurse. But some things just don't make sense. Pudding was more open-minded about this than Pudding, so she tried to persuade her sister. You're right. Let's put this behind us. No matter what happens between Uncle Tang and Auntie in the future, she's not Handsome Su's woman anymore. Handsome Su, we all want you to be happy. Promise us, okay? Pudding looked at Su and said seriously. Chapter 2158. Actually, I'm very happy right now, Su said from the bottom of his heart. Although he didn't end up with Huamin, he was able to follow Huamin and the twins around for the past few years. Others might think that it was hard, but he felt that it was happiness. He even felt that God was good to him, because the years that Qin Chu missed were the happiest times of his life. He even felt that he had stolen those few years of his life. People had to learn how to be satisfied in order to have more happiness. Compared to 4 years ago, Suyu was like a completely different person. At that time, he was still the arrogant and flamboyant crown prince who was insufferably arrogant. Now, he was a low-key and reserved young entrepreneur, a gentle and caring man. He doted on the twins as if they were his own children, and he had always fulfilled Huamin's requests. After speaking, Pudding didn't mention this matter anymore, afraid that Suyu would feel uncomfortable. Therefore, she changed the topic and said, "Handsome Su, Little Bean and I will stay at your house tonight." At my house? Suyu was stunned. The twins often stayed at the Su family's old mansion. They played chess and games with Suyu's parents, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. However, they had never stayed at Suyu's mansion for a long time. After all, he wasn't their biological father. It was weird to stay with the twins for the night. Therefore, Suyu didn't know how to answer Pudding's words. "What? You don't welcome us?" Pudding asked. "No, of course I welcome you. But will your daddy and mommy agree?" Suyu hesitated. Little Bean secretly smiled and said, "We have 100 ways to make my daddy and mommy compromise. Don't worry about that. What I want to ask now is, why did you suddenly want to stay at my house?" Suyu was puzzled. "Can I say that it's because Bitch Jian has been too attentive to you recently and we're worried, so we want to keep an eye on you?" Pudding was sharp-tongued. Shaoan almost choked when he heard this. "Ahem, what? Uncle An, do you have a problem with that?" Pudding glanced at and no, Shaoan replied immediately, not at all afraid of angering the princess. "If the two of you are worried about this, then there's no need to. We don't need any publicity now, and there are no media reports. She won't do anything." Suyu smiled. "That won't do. Sometimes, you're still too kind. You don't understand the means of those scheming bitches. The two of us definitely can't let her have this opportunity. Even so, you don't have to stay overnight. It's not convenient for you to take a shower. Uncle Suyu is a man. I think you guys shouldn't stay here." Suyu still felt that it wasn't safe for the twins to stay at home. How would he explain it to Huamin if he bumped into her? "It's okay, we can bring our own nanny," Pudding added. "Suyu, how is it? Can we do it now?" Little Bean wiggled her butt and grinned at him. Okay. In the end, the twins successfully bullied Suyu and convinced Suyu to let them stay in Suyu's private bedroom. After dealing with Suyu, the next thing they needed to do was to convince their daddy and mommy. After dinner, Pudding took a sip of tea and looked at her little sister. "Little Bean, I'll go convince daddy and you go convince mommy. I'll give you 3 minutes, okay? You can call or send a WeChat message." Pudding began to quickly assign tasks. Chapter 2159. Wait, why do I have to convince mommy? Everyone on Earth knows that daddy is easy to talk to and mommy is hard to talk to. Sis, are you sure you're not tricking me? Although Little Bean usually looked careless, she was quick-witted at critical moments. Therefore, she immediately questioned her sister's mission. "Mommy is hard to talk to, but you're good at acting cute. With my personality, it's hard to talk to mommy. Not only is it a waste of time, but it's also very likely that I'll end up arguing with mommy. But you're different. You can act cute and coquettishly and win mommy's heart. Daddy is more rational. I only need to briefly analyze the reason and then I'll be able to convince him." You're right. I don't know what to say. In the end, Little Bean was successfully convinced by her sister. Then, the two of them picked up their phones and walked to a corner to make calls. Su-yu and An watched from the side as if they were watching a Hollywood movie. It was so exciting. 3 minutes later, the two sisters returned to their seats on time. What did your mommy say? Su-yu was more afraid of Hwamin, so he asked Little Bean first. I told you that Uncle Su really wanted us to stay the night. After all, he's an old bachelor who doesn't even have a wife, so it's inevitable that he'll be lonely and cold. With the two of us around, your nights will be richer. At least, we'll be able to play chess, eat supper, and watch TV with you. That's all. My mommy seemed to understand your pain and agreed to it for your sake, Little Bean said proudly. Su-yu felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Little Bean, are you sure you're not making me the scapegoat? Su-yu wanted to cry but had no tears. It was the two little girls who wanted to stay the night, but now he was the one who was lonely and empty and wanted warm companionship. In the end, he had to ask Hwamin to agree. This was ridiculous. Sis, this is the first time I realized that you're a genius. Little Bean actually praised her. Sis, what about you? What did Daddy say? Little Bean looked at her sister with a smile. Daddy is very smart. As soon as I asked, he agreed. He said that even if he didn't agree, I had 100 ways to make him agree. So, he agreed right away to save time. He's our biological father. Even his way of thinking is different from ours. Little Bean clapped her hands. The four of you are a weird family. Su-yu sighed. So, it's decided. Daddy will send the nanny to take care of us to your house tonight. Putting to look at Su-yu. Pudding to say, what do you want to eat 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 eat to 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 eat eat to eat to eat? Didn't you just have lunch? Su-yu was speechless. Little pudding to puto soup puto pudding. The twins stuck to Su-yu in his office the entire afternoon. As a result, Jian-tong couldn't talk to Su-yu about work in private. However, the more the twins messed with her, the more Jian-tong wanted to get closer to Su-yu. She really wanted to teach Hwamin and her daughters a lesson as Su-yu's woman. In Jian-tong's eyes, Hwamin was despicable, but the twins were even more despicable. 10 p.m. that night, under the nanny's care, the twins showered, changed into their pajamas, and were about to go to bed. Su-yu was sitting on the sofa downstairs in the living room, drinking beer and watching a basketball game. Just then, the doorbell rang. Su-yu got up to open the door. President Su. I couldn't sleep, so I got up and made some pork bone soup. I thought it tasted really good. I suddenly remembered that you love it, so I brought some for you to try. I drove really fast, so it shouldn't be cold yet. Jian-tong was wearing thin clothes and had delicate makeup on her face. She held a small pot of soup in her hands. Su-yu looked at her with a complicated expression and didn't say anything. It was already so late, so she obviously wasn't here to deliver soup. Chapter 2160. It's late, you don't have to be so polite. Su-yu sounded distant. However, Jian-tong obviously didn't want to leave. She stuck out her tongue cutely and asked, "Can I come in? It's so cold outside. I came out in a hurry and forgot to turn on the air conditioner. My hands are a bit numb from driving all the way here. Come in." Since Jian-tong said so, Su-yu didn't want to block the door anymore. He opened the door and let Jian-tong in. Every time Jian-tong came to Su-yu's mansion, she would be extremely excited. She even fantasized that she would one day be the mistress of this house. She carefully placed the soup on the coffee table. President Su, drink it while it's hot. Put it here for now, I've been drinking beer and watching basketball games. My stomach is a bit bloated. Suyu didn't say that he didn't want to drink, but he obviously wasn't interested in Jian Tong's soup. Do you really like basketball games? Jian Tong purposely tried to find a topic to talk about. Yeah. Which basketball player do you like? I like Kobe the most. Jian Tong purposely smiled. This is the CBA, not the NBA. Suyu was a bit speechless. Jian Tong coughed awkwardly and didn't say anything else. Is there anything else? Suyu asked. He wanted to leave as soon as possible if there wasn't anything else. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk to you about work this afternoon. Unfortunately, the twins seem to hate me, so I didn't have time to talk about it. Here's the thing, I don't want to take too many jobs this year. I don't want to go overseas to film, and I don't want to go overseas that often. After all, I'm getting old and want to spend more time with my family. My parents want me to ask for your permission. Jian Tong spoke very slowly as she observed Suyu's reaction. Suyu's reaction was very calm. Sure, no problem. Imperial Star has a lot of artists. If you want to take a break, you can give the newcomers more opportunities. Plus, you've been working really hard these past few years. I'm okay with taking a break, and I won't mistreat you in terms of salary. As long as you don't feel like you've been wronged, the company will be fine with you. How could that be? President Su, you've been taking care of me all these years, so I won't think that way. Also, thank you for giving me a break. Jian Tong smiled like a flower. Then do you have anything else? Suyu asked. Oh, I want to say. Nie Lingxuan's injury is quite serious this time. I'm interested in the cosmetics endorsements she accepted. After all, the other newcomers in our company can't hold up the front. I think if she can't come back to work for a while, I can take over the endorsements. What do you think? I've talked to her about this. Her injury isn't serious, so it won't affect the endorsements. So, I'm afraid you can't do what you want. Plus, you have a lot of endorsements now, and she doesn't have a lot of endorsements. If you take the endorsements from her, I'm afraid she won't feel good about it. Let's be lenient whenever possible. I don't care what happened between you two, but the company hopes you won't cause any more trouble. Suyu tried to persuade her. President Su, you're joking. I don't have any problems with her. After all, we're not on the same level. When I was famous, she was just a little girl who did odd jobs. I just like the brand she endorses, Jian Tong explained. Suyu didn't say anything. Instead, he picked up a can of beer and watched the football game on TV. President Su, if you don't drink it, then I'll make it for nothing. The bones were carefully selected, and it took me more than 3 hours to boil it. I also made the soup with great care. Jian Tong looked at the soup in front of her, full of sadness. To appease her, Suyu told her to leave quickly. He got up, walked over, and picked up the spoon. Just as he was about to drink, he heard a voice behind him. Handsome Su. Chapter 2161. Little Bean, why aren't you asleep yet? Suyu looked at Bao Xiaobao, who was standing on the stairs behind him, in surprise. Little Bean was wearing a milky white nightgown. It was a princess gown with lace trimmings. It was very beautiful and the material was top-notch. My sister doesn't seem to be feeling well. Is she having a fever? Can you come up and take a look? Fever. That's serious. I'll go up and take a look. Suyu put down the spoon and walked upstairs. He seemed to have forgotten about Jian Tong. After Suyu went up, Little Bean came down. She looked at Jian Tong and asked arrogantly, why are you here? Since Su wasn't by her side, Jian Tong sneered rudely, then why are you here? My sister and I are very close to handsome Su. Not only here, but we also stay at the Su mansion. How can you compare to us? Little Bean's tone was a little arrogant because she really didn't like bitch Jian Tong. Seeing her come here in such a coquettish outfit in the middle of the night, Little Bean knew what Sima Zhao was up to. Of course not. No matter how close you are to him, you're still children. I'm different. I'm a woman, a mature woman. I can help him solve problems that you can't solve. Jian Tong's words were very vague but also very coquettish. Little Bean looked at her with disdain. You're just offering yourself to him in the middle of the night. I don't understand why you don't have any sense of shame. You've been in the entertainment industry for so many years. Although you're not a promiscuous woman, you've slept with at least 8, if not 10 men. How can you have the nerve to seduce handsome Su when you're already like this? You want to be the young mistress of the Su family, right? Let me tell you, there's no way. Grandma Su said that the Su family will never let someone like you marry into their family. Plus, you're not even qualified to be handsome Su's mistress because you're too much of a bitch and full of schemes. Little Bean, when it comes to bitches, no one is as bitchy as your mommy. She's the real bitch. She kisses your daddy and flirts with handsome Su, making him dizzy. I heard that she's having an affair with N.I. Yang. Oh, and Hua Xichen, he's your mommy's older brother. Ha! She's so shameless and immoral, but you don't care about her. Why do you care about me? There really isn't enough for the two of you to worry about. Also, don't speak so harshly at such a young age. Be careful that no man will want you in the future. In the end, you'll end up as old grandmothers. Jian Tong said out loud for the first time. To confront Little Bean in such a straightforward manner, he was going against the natural order of things. Hee hee. You're finally not pretending to be a white lotus anymore. Now that handsome Su isn't here, you can't pretend anymore, right? I'm confused. You keep bad-mouthing my mommy because you're jealous of her, right? She's not as pretty as you are, and her body isn't as good as yours, but she has her dignity and dignity. She wouldn't just walk up to you in the middle of the night. Shameless people are invincible. Plus, we're here, so don't think about those dirty thoughts. Even if you strip naked, handsome Su won't touch you. You're just asking for humiliation. We'll still see each other in the future, so I advise you not to do such shameless things. Leave some leeway for yourself and others, okay? Little Bean's sharp tongue was not inferior to her sister's at all. Little Bean's tongue was sharp, but she was too lazy to say anything because she was too busy eating. Today, Jian Tong finally saw what a terrifying opponent was like. She didn't use any dirty words when she insulted someone, but she still insulted them. I'm here to deliver soup to President Su. This is his home. I don't think I did anything wrong. Jian Tong raised her chin provocatively. Little Bean looked down at the soup and then picked up the spoon. Handsome Su isn't interested in food. I can help him. Then, she picked up the spoon and put it into her mouth. Jian Tong's expression changed instantly because she had put a large dose of aphrodisiac in the soup. Chapter 2162. Jian Tong wanted to stop her, or she could just reach out and knock over the bowl of soup. After all, she came here with the intention of giving the soup to Su Yu so that she could climb into Su Yu's bed. However, she didn't expect the twins to stay the night here. Since Little Bean wanted to drink the soup, she should have stopped her. However, at that moment, Jian Tong hesitated. She even had evil thoughts. Little Bean and Pudding had always been the kids she hated the most. She hated Huamian even more every time she thought about how arrogant and cold Huamian was. Huamian had everything. He didn't need to work hard and had everything at his fingertips. However, after so many years of hard work, her wish to be with Suyu was getting harder and harder. In the past, Huamian stood between her and Suyu. Now that the twins were here to ruin things, Jian-tong was furious. Therefore, she hesitated. While she was hesitating, Little Bean had already drunk the soup. To be honest, the soup was delicious. After all, Jian-tong had been starving for so long. However, Little Bean wouldn't give her face, so she frowned and said, "It's disgusting." "What did you make? Is this even soup?" Jian-tong was scared and didn't dare to say anything. She was panicking. She had only cared about the momentary pleasure just now, but she had forgotten that if anything happened to this child, she would be in trouble. Would Suyu let her go? Would Huamin and Qin Chu let her go? After she calmed down, Jian-tong looked up and observed Little Bean. "How are you feeling? Do you feel uncomfortable?" "Of course I feel sick after drinking such a disgusting soup. I want to throw up." "Humph. You should leave now. Handsome Su won't drink your soup, and we won't let you be alone with him." "Give up." Jian-tong was scared, so she got up with her bag. Indeed, with the twins here, her plan for tonight would be ruined. "Stop right there. Take your soup with you." Little Bean pointed at the bowl of soup. Jian-tong hurriedly turned around, picked up the soup bowl, and left. She was so scared that she didn't even have time to say goodbye to Suyu. Upstairs, Pudding was lying on the bed talking to Suyu. She didn't have a fever at all. It was just that the nanny heard some noise downstairs and the two children happened to be awake. When they saw that Jian-tong was here, the two sisters made a button. She lied that Pudding had a fever and asked Suyu to go up and stall Suyu. Little Bean taunted her several times and drove Jian-tong away. Pudding thought that such a simple task would be solved in minutes, but she didn't expect Little Bean to cause so much trouble because of the soup. "Handsome Su, did you ask Bimbo Jian to come so late? How is that possible?" Suyu immediately denied. "But how dare she come here in the middle of the night? Or, are you looking for a woman?" "Ahem, your Uncle Su isn't that desperate. Plus, I'm old, why would I need a woman?" Suyu had been abstinent for the past few years. Because of his obsession with Huamin, he didn't have any thoughts about other women. Occasionally, when he couldn't control himself, he would use his own hands to solve the problem. Therefore, he didn't look for a woman. "That's good. Stay away from Bimbo Jian. She's too scheming. She's not as good as she looks," Pudding warned. "Yeah, I've heard you say that many times. I remember." Suyu smiled. "Good. Little Bean probably drove her away. You should go to bed too," Pudding urged. Before Suyu got up and was about to speak, Little Bean opened the door and walked in. "Handsome Su, I'm so hot." Little Bean felt dizzy after taking a few steps upstairs. Then, her whole body swayed as if she had drunk too much. The moment Suyu turned around, he was dumbfounded. Little Bean's face was as red as fire. "Little Bean, what's wrong?" Suyu rushed over and picked Little Bean up. Chapter 2163. Pudding also rushed out of bed. "Little Bean, don't scare me. Why is your face so red?" "I don't know. I'm so hot and dizzy. I want to sleep." Little Bean's voice was weak as if she was going to fall to the ground in the next second. "Ambulance, ambulance." Suyu was also panicking. His hands were shaking when he reached for his phone. The ambulance won't make it. You drive, we'll go to the hospital. Pudding was calm and immediately came up with an idea. Suyu picked Little Bean up and rushed out. He drove the two sisters to the hospital in his sports car. Since Suyu's mansion wasn't far from South Side, he drove them there directly. Outside the emergency room, Suyu and Pudding's hearts were in their throats. Handsome Su, should we call my parents? Pudding was a little scared. I already sent them a WeChat message. They're on their way. Suyu leaned against the wall and blamed himself. He was scared out of his wits. If something happened to Little Bean, how would he explain it to Huamin? When Huamin and Chin Chu received the news, they immediately drove over. On their way here, the doctor in the emergency room walked out with a serious expression. Who is the child's family? The doctor asked. We are. Pudding held Suyu's hand and walked over. The doctor looked down at Pudding. Twins, right? They look very similar. Doctor, how's my sister? What's the situation? The child's reaction is probably caused by drugs. As for what drugs, we need to do further tests. But right now, we need to pump her stomach. Family, please sign the papers. We don't do gastric pumps for children like this. If something happens, our hospital will. The night doctor didn't know that the child was Huamin's daughter, nor did he know Suyu. So, he wanted to make it clear that he didn't want to take responsibility. But before he could finish, Suyu immediately grabbed him by the collar. What the fuck did you say? I'm telling you, you have to promise me that nothing will happen to this child today. If anything happens to her, I'll fucking blow up your hospital. Someone come, security, the patient's family is crazy. The doctor was scared out of his wits and screamed. The security guards in the security room also rushed out and tried to pull Suyu. At this moment, Huamin and Chin Chu arrived. Everyone stop. Huamin shouted. Everyone immediately stopped what they were doing and turned to look at him. Pudding immediately rushed over and cried, Mommy, will little sister be in danger? Deputy Director Huamin, you came at the right time. Look at this patient's family, The doctor didn't know the relationship between the child and Huamin, so he scolded him shamelessly. The child inside is my daughter, and this is my friend. Huamin introduced them briefly. Everyone was dumbfounded. The security guard immediately let go of Suyu's clothes. The male doctor was also dumbfounded. How's my daughter? Huamin asked the male doctor as he held Pudding in his arms. The child's condition isn't very good right now. We recommend immediate gastric lavage to remove the drugs that haven't spread in the stomach yet. Then, we can do further analysis, gastric lavage. Chin Chu's face immediately turned cold, and his eyes were cold. Gastric lavage was a cruel thing that even adults couldn't stand, let alone a child. Chin Chu and Huamin were both medical students, so they knew these steps too well. Inserting a tube into the stomach would not only cause pain, but also the feeling of wanting to vomit. Who could bear to do that? Gastric lavage. Huamin was also dumbfounded, and tears welled up in his eyes. Chapter 2164. Huamin, is there any other way? Suyu walked over anxiously. Don't worry, I'll go in and take a look. Huamin let go of Pudding's hand and turned around to go in. Mian, I'll go in with you. Chin Chu took off his jacket and threw it on the ground. He followed Huamin to the ER. Pudding and Suyu continued to wait at the door. Seeing that the higher-ups were fine, the male doctors didn't dare to make a fuss and immediately hid far away. Handsome Su, how did Little Bean get poisoned? Pudding suddenly thought of an important question. That shouldn't be the case. You two ate the same thing last night. If there's really something wrong with the food, you're fine. Could it be that bowl of soup? Suyu suddenly realized. What soup? Pudding asked coldly. When Jian-tong came, she gave me a bowl of soup and told me to drink it while it was hot. Before I could drink it, Little Bean said you had a fever, so I went upstairs. Could it be that Little Bean was greedy and drank the soup? Suyu guessed. But Jian-tong wouldn't be brave enough to poison you. After all, the soup was meant for you, Pudding analyzed. Could it be? Suyu seemed to have thought of something but didn't say it out loud. What did you think? Pudding asked. Let's wait for your mommy and daddy's results. There's no doctor here who's better than them. Suyu felt that as long as Huamin and Qin Chu were here, Little Bean would be fine. Plus, if she really got poisoned because of the soup, her life shouldn't be in danger. After all, Jian-tong didn't have a grudge against him and wouldn't poison him, unless it was another kind of medicine. If my sister really got poisoned because she drank that bitch's soup, then I'll make that bitch wish she was dead. Pudding had never hated anyone so much. Even a big bad guy like Hua Xiqin didn't make her feel this way. She clenched her little fists tightly and wished that she could strangle bitch Jian to death at any moment. As time passed, Pudding and Suyu continued to wait outside. Huamin and Qin Chu changed into disinfectant gowns and entered the emergency room. They decided to personally pump their daughter's stomach. The moment the couple saw Little Bean in the emergency room, Huamin couldn't stop crying. Because of the medicine, Little Bean was a little dizzy from the heat. She was still talking nonsense. Mommy. I'm so hot. I want to eat ice cream. I want to eat cake with ice cubes, and cola. It hurts. My head hurts. Mommy, am I going to die? Daddy, save me. When a child's consciousness was in a mess, he would say anything and everything would be incoherent. Qin Chu was also heartbroken, but he knew that at this time, he had to be strong. Otherwise, if the couple broke down, who would save the child? Honey, does your hospital have painless gastric lavage? Yes, but painless gastric lavage requires a lot of anesthetics. She's so young, she'll definitely be affected. I don't want to. Huamin said as he cried. The assistant nurses around them couldn't bear to see their daughter like this, so they didn't dare to say anything. Get the anesthetics ready. I'll give her the anesthetics. I'll find a suitable trick that will make her suffer the least amount of pain and won't affect her. Will that work? Huamin was slightly surprised. Don't you trust me? Qin Chu turned around and looked at Huamin seriously. Huamin was silent for 3 seconds. Biting his lip, he turned around and said to the nurse, anesthetics. Vice Director Hua, the baby is so young. Won't the anesthetics? Go get it. Huamin didn't wait for the nurse to finish and continued. Huamin leaned closer to Little Bean. Little Bean's cheeks were terrifyingly hot. Her body temperature was also very high. It was very scary. Little Bean, don't be scared. Mommy and Daddy are here. You have to be strong, Huamin said as he cried. Little Bean's nightgown was wet from his tears. Qin Chu's heart ached so much that he almost suffocated. No matter how good a doctor was, it was cruel to save his own daughter. Vice Director Hua, anesthetics. The nurse immediately handed it over. Qin Chu took the long syringe and took a deep breath. Honey, hold Little Bean down. Don't let her move. At this moment, Huamin's hands were shaking. Chapter 2165. Honey, do we really have to do this? Huamin couldn't bear to look at the long, cold anesthetic needles piercing her body. This way, the child will suffer less. Trust me. Qin Chu had to encourage Huamin while under great pressure. At this moment, it was clear who was the spiritual pillar of the family. In fact, Qin Chu also noticed that ever since Huamin became a mother, her mental endurance had decreased. Especially when it came to matters involving children, she would be like a helpless little girl. When they received Su Yu's call, both of them were in a panic. Qin Chu drove the whole way. Huamin didn't know where to put her hands. She was in a daze the whole way. When she heard that little Bean was sent to South Side for resuscitation, Huamin's heart was on the verge of breaking down. Qin Chu drove with one hand and put the other hand on Huamin's hand. He held her tightly and comforted her. After they arrived at South Side, Huamin was still emotional after entering the OR, so she was still uncertain. She panicked and didn't know what to do. Last year, there was a gynecology professor at South Side. Her daughter was in labor and was sent to the hospital in the middle of the night. In fact, it was just a simple cesarean section, but the professor couldn't bear to do it in front of his daughter. No matter how good a doctor she was and how professional she was, at this moment, she was just an ordinary mother. In the end, other gynecologists who lived nearby came and helped her with the surgery. At that time, Huamin didn't really understand this feeling. She thought that it was better to treat her family like an ordinary patient. However, in today's situation, she felt the determination of not being able to do it in front of her own family. Fortunately, Mr. Qin was decisive. While Huamin was lost in her thoughts, several nurses helped hold down the child. Qin Chu aimed at the child's spine and injected little Bean with a mild anesthetic. Although it wasn't a lot, it was enough for a 3-year-old. Little Bean began to fall asleep. Pump the stomach immediately. Qin Chu ordered with a cold expression. The emergency room was a mess. Huamin did not dare to make a move during the entire process. Beads of sweat the size of beans appeared on his forehead. Whether it was anesthesia or gastric lavage, it was all done by Qin Chu himself. A few nurses helped to pass the tools to him. Huamin stood to the side, as if he was being tortured by 1,000 cuts. She even had a scary thought in her mind. If little Bean's life was in danger, then, how was she going to survive? It had to be said that Qin Chu's technique was quite fast and exquisite. All the nurses were dumbfounded. No one would have thought that Vice Director Hua's husband was not only a successful and ruthless CEO, but also an outstanding doctor. After pumping little Bean's stomach, Qin Chu took out the mucus that hadn't been broken down yet and carefully placed it on a sterilized tray. Hurry up and get it tested. I want to know what it is as soon as possible. Yes. The nurses didn't dare to delay and hurried to get it tested. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, the results came out. Qin Chu and Huamin were both dumbfounded when they heard the results. According to our test results, this is an aphrodisiac. It's fast and strong. There are also some hallucinogenic ingredients in it. Huamin felt like his head was going to explode when he heard the results. Aphrodisiac. How could this be? Huamin felt a chill run down his spine. Chapter 2166. How could such a young child be poisoned with something as vicious as an aphrodisiac? Qin Chu's face grew darker and darker. However, his rationality told him that he had to save the child first. Knowing that it was an aphrodisiac, he was actually a little relieved. After all, the toxin was very small and wouldn't be life-threatening. If it was rat poison or cockroach poison, the child's organs would have started to fail by now. Qin Chu turned around and told the nurses to prepare the antidote and nutrient solution. After the gastric lavage, Little Bean looked very weak and pale. After the antidote was put on the 4, everything stabilized. Huamian didn't leave Little Bean's side, crying and crying. After Chin Chu took care of everything, he walked over and hugged Huamian's head. "Honey, don't cry. Little Bean is fine. Her life is not in danger. After the gastric lavage, the remaining drugs will be broken down by the 4. When she wakes up tomorrow morning, she will be able to eat porridge." "Okay." Huamian nodded heavily. Then, the couple pushed the hospital bed out. Chin Chu told the medical staff, "Take my daughter to VIP room 1. We need to take care of something." "Okay, no problem." The nurses carefully pushed Little Bean into the room. When Suyu saw Little Bean, he immediately ran up to her. "How is she? How's Little Bean?" Suyu's heart was in agony. Before Suyu could reach the bed, Chin Chu grabbed him by the collar. Then, without saying anything, he punched him. "Daddy, why did you hit handsome Su?" Pudding ran up and hugged Chin Chu's leg. "Pudding, get up. This is between adults." Chin Chu looked down at his daughter with a serious expression. Suyu was dizzy from Chin Chu's punch and almost fell down. However, he didn't have any intention of fighting back because he felt extremely guilty. He didn't want anything to happen to Little Bean, but it happened in his house. If he hadn't mercifully let that woman, Jian Tong, in and sent her some pork bone soup, how could so many things have happened? "Suyu, Mian and I trusted you and gave you the children. What happened? Look at what you've done to them." Chin Chu angrily pointed at Suyu, as if he wanted to rush up and hit him. "Honey, now is not the time to fight, we need to find out the truth." Huamian grabbed onto Chin Chu and stopped him from hitting Suyu. "Huamian, how is Little Bean? Is she okay? What's the situation now?" Suyu looked at Huamian anxiously and asked. "Little Bean is fine. We pumped her stomach and saved her. But I want to ask, why did she take aphrodisiacs?" Huamian frowned and looked at Suyu. "Aphrodisiacs? Looks like I was right. That evil woman." Suyu's heart sank. It seemed like he was right. At the same time, he hated Jian Tong to the core. At this moment, Pudding was quick-witted and immediately said, "Daddy, Mommy, you can't blame handsome Su for this. He didn't do it. He's so good to us, how could he bear to hurt us?" "I know what's going on. It must be bitch Jian, that evil woman. Jian Tong. But it's so late. Why is she at your house?" Huamian looked at Suyu in confusion. Chapter 2167. Suyu wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth and answered calmly, "That night, Jian Tong came over and said she wanted to bring me some soup. I didn't drink it, and she talked to me about work. I was in a hurry to get rid of her, but Little Bean came downstairs and told me that she had a fever. I didn't think much of it and went upstairs. I didn't expect Little Bean to drink the soup when she was downstairs. I also didn't know that there was an aphrodisiac in the soup. I really didn't know that Jian Tong had the guts to do something like that. If I knew, I wouldn't have let Little Bean be alone with her." All that was left in Suyu's heart was regret. He wished he could turn back time and kick Jian Tong out. Then, the tragedy wouldn't have happened. "I see. What about the soup? Do you still have the evidence?" Huamian asked. "No, I didn't see her when I came downstairs. She probably took it away. I don't know if Jian Tong made Little Bean drink it or if Little Bean drank it herself. We'll have to wait until Little Bean wakes up tomorrow," Suyu explained. Where does that woman live? Chin Chu asked with a dark expression. After hearing Chin Chu's question, Su Yu and Huamin both froze. Give me her address. Chin Chu looked at Su Yu coldly. Chin Chu, don't worry. I won't let Little Bean suffer for nothing. Even if Jian Tong is an artist under my company, I won't let her get away with it. Su Yu immediately knew what Chin Chu was going to do, so he promised. I don't need your promise. I'll take care of my own family. After speaking, Chin Chu turned around and gently stroked Huamin's cheek. Honey, stay here and take care of our daughter. I'm going out for a bit. Honey, don't be impulsive. Huamin was also worried about Chin Chu's condition. Don't worry, I know what to do. After saying that, Chin Chu directly walked out. Then, as he walked, he made a call. I want Jian Tong's address. I'll give you 5 minutes. Get it for me immediately. Gao Ran was still in a daze, but after hearing Chin Chu's words, he immediately became more awake. Why do you want Jian Tong's address? Are you interested in her? Gao Ran was still joking. I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Send it to my phone in 5 minutes. That's all. After that, Chin Chu quickly hung up the phone. Gao Ran immediately called the bureau and asked the household registration department to investigate Jian Tong's address, and then send it to Chin Chu. At this moment, Jian Tong was in her private mansion, trembling with fear. In fact, she regretted it after doing that thing. She didn't want things to turn out like this. At first, she was a little selfish, so she asked for some aphrodisiac from her friends. She heard that men couldn't take it after taking it, so she wanted to go to Su Yu's house in the middle of the night and take the opportunity to drug him. As long as she went to bed, Su Yu wouldn't reject her anymore, right? Unexpectedly, the twins stayed over at Su Yu's house, and Little Bean, who had always been a glutton, even drank the soup. In fact, if Little Bean wanted to drink it, she would have stopped her. If she stopped her in time, then all of this wouldn't have happened. The bad thing was that Jian Tong had an evil thought at that moment. She added her hatred for Huamin and the twins. Therefore, she watched the 3-year-old drink the soup with the aphrodisiac. Luckily, Little Bean didn't drink a lot, only a spoonful. Otherwise, who knew what would have happened? After Jian Tong got home, she began to feel uneasy. She felt like something was going to happen. She didn't know how the kids would react after eating it. Would Su Yu punish her? Would Chin Chu and Huamin let her go? 1:30 a.m., Jian Tong didn't feel sleepy at all. She hesitated for a while and finally called her assistant. Help me find a ticket to Thailand. I have to leave immediately. Chapter 2168. Miss Yiling, this is so sudden. Don't you have work tomorrow? Her assistant was dumbfounded. I'm not feeling well. I don't want to do anything. Can you help me book a first-class flight? The sooner the better, I have to leave. I have to leave. Jian Tong was slightly agitated. Okay, please wait a moment, I'll call you back in a bit. Her assistant immediately followed Jian Tong's instructions and looked at the flight tickets. After she made the call, she immediately got up and went upstairs to pack her suitcase. She randomly grabbed a few dresses and some daily necessities before rushing downstairs. Just then, her assistant called, Miss Yiling, I saw it. There's a flight that leaves at 6:30 a.m. Isn't that a bit too rushed? It's not rushed, I'll take this flight. I'm going to the airport right now, why are you in such a hurry? Her assistant was also confused. It was the middle of the night, so why was she suddenly going on a trip? Her assistant hurriedly booked a first-class flight for Enchanting to Thailand. Then, she sent the flight information to her WeChat. Enchanting dragged her luggage out of the house in the middle of the night and got into her white Lamborghini. After she got into her sports car and drove out of the neighborhood, she saw a bright light coming from the opposite direction. After Chin Chu received the address, he immediately drove over. When he arrived at Enchanting's neighborhood, he saw the white Lamborghini driving towards him. This was because the information Gao Ran gave him included Enchanting's cell phone number, home address, and license plate number. Therefore, Chin Chu immediately recognized that it was Enchanting's car. "You want to run?" "Humph." Chin Chu's face darkened as he sped up and rushed over. Enchanting didn't even have time to see who it was or what car it was before she heard a loud crash. The two cars crashed into each other, making a loud noise. Because Chin Chu was the one who crashed into her, the impact was very strong. Both of their airbags popped out, but because Enchanting was in a passive state, the moment her car was destroyed, she felt a sharp pain. She also felt a piercing pain all over her body, as if her internal organs were about to be pushed out. Following that, her vision turned black and she fainted. Chin Chu also suffered some internal injuries. Enduring the pain, he got up and walked out of the car. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood and walked over to check on Enchanting. He found that the white Lamborghini was in a terrible state and was beyond recognition. The woman in the driver's seat was covered in glass shards and blood flowed like a river. Chin Chu looked on coldly. In fact, he should have gotten into the car and continued to hit Enchanting a second time, directly sending her to the underworld. However, he felt that doing so would be letting this woman off too easily. Perhaps it would be better for her to suffer a fate worse than death. After all, this woman was vicious enough to harm his 3-year-old daughter and drug Little Bean with an aphrodisiac. That was unforgivable. Because it was a wealthy area, the police and ambulances rushed over as soon as the car accident happened. Chin Chu and Enchanting were both sent to the nearby South Side Recuperation Center. When Huamin heard that Chin Chu was also injured, his heart sank. She ran to the emergency room in a hurry. "Honey, what happened to you?" Huamin's face turned pale when she saw Chin Chu in such a sorry state. After everything that happened tonight, she couldn't take another blow. "I'm fine. I avenged Little Bean," Chin Chu said tiredly. Huamin felt a lump in her throat and hugged Chin Chu tightly. "Honey, you scared me to death." Huamin's heart-wrenching cries followed. "I'm fine, don't cry." Chin Chu gently hugged Huamin with his blood-stained hands and comforted her in a low voice. Huamin called home, and her mother and Jixin came to take care of the twins and the injured Chin Chu. After everything was settled, the sun had already risen. Huamin walked out of the hospital room, exhausted and with bloodshot eyes. Siyu leaned against the wall, his beard unshaven. He looked at Huamin with guilt and said softly, "Mian, I'm sorry." Chapter 2169. I can't blame you for this. Huamin's eyes were unfocused, and his voice was hoarse. As she spoke, she walked up to Su Yu and leaned against the wall with him. Then, she took out a cigarette from her white lab coat and put it in her mouth. Before she could light it up, Su Yu snatched it away, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it. "Mian, I beg you, don't do this. I know you're sad and bitter. Hit me, yell at me. Don't hurt yourself." Su Yu knew that Huamin was such a well-behaved person that he would only show his rebellious side when he was under great pressure. He would smoke to relieve his stress. In the past few years, he had seen Huamin do this a few times, but he really didn't like this decadent Huamin. It was as if he wasn't the same person as usual. It's just a cigarette, don't make such a big deal out of it. Huamin said as he reached into the pocket of his lab coat. He wanted to take out more cigarettes, but Suyu held him down. I beg you. Please don't do this, I'll die of sadness. Suyu was already blaming himself and was very sad. When he saw Huamian become like this because of what had happened, he felt like he was being cut into pieces by a knife. Okay, I won't smoke. Huamin smiled bitterly. I really didn't expect what happened tonight. I'm wondering if I've been too soft-hearted lately and indulged Jian Tong too much. Suyu sighed slightly. There's no use regretting what happened, we can only face it bravely. Actually, this isn't your problem. If Jian Tong wanted to do something to them, you wouldn't be able to stop her. You can stop her temporarily, but you can't stop her dark heart. Jian Tong and I have a deep-rooted hatred for each other. I should have been prepared for this. It's also my fault that I didn't leave it to the kids. Huamin began to blame himself. Jian Tong and you have a deep-rooted hatred for each other. So you didn't know that Jian Tong and Huamin had such a bad relationship. Every time Jian Tong appeared in front of Suyu, she was calm, elegant, and even understanding. It was because of her good disguise, so you always thought that Jian Tong was one of the more sensible female artists under the company. Therefore, he was a little more lenient with her than the others. He didn't think she would cause such a big mess. Huamian tilted her head and glanced at Suyu. You're not that stupid. Let me ask you, how do you think Jian Tong treats you? Very good. She's the one who treats me the best among all the female artists under the company. She's also the one who's been with me the longest. We've dated before. Compared to Zhao Qingya and Mian, who have big boobs but no brains, I always thought Jian Tong was smart and rational. Suyu replied. Would you believe me if I told you she loves you very much? Huamin asked quietly. It's hard to say. Love is too hard to define. First, I have to see what she wants. If she loves me because I'm the only son of the Su family, because I'm the president of Imperial Star, the arrogant young Master Su, then this love is a little too much. If she loves me because I'm Suyu, then maybe it's a little purer. Suyu lowered his head and said slowly. No matter what she wants, she loves you. At least she thinks she loves you very much. But you've been thinking about me all these years. What do you think Jian Tong will think of me? Huamin asked. Huamin's question left Suyu speechless. Chapter 2170. Jian Tong warned me more than once in private, and she even mocked me. Of course, that's the side of her that you can't see. After all, she pretends to be a different side of herself in front of you. I can understand what Jian Tong was thinking. She thought that I was the biggest reason why you didn't accept her, and that I was the stumbling block in her pursuit of happiness. Pudding and Little Bean have always been hostile towards her, so as time went by, the resentment accumulated and exploded. Maybe Jian Tong brought you the soup because she wanted something to happen between the two of you, but she didn't expect my daughters to be in your house. In the end, she decided to coax, lie to, or watch Little Bean drink the soup that was laced with aphrodisiac. No matter what the reason was, she knew what was in the soup, but she still watched Little Bean drink it. That's unforgivable, and I won't be merciful. Maybe you think that Qin Chu was too cruel to hit her with his car, but in my eyes, at this moment, my husband is a great man. He's a father who wants to protect his daughters, a father who wants to seek justice for his children. Huamian said word by word. I don't think Qin Chu is cruel. In fact, even if he didn't do that, I still wouldn't let Jian Tong go. You're right, Her crime is unforgivable. A woman who would hurt a child has a vicious heart. I just think that in order to hit her, Chin Chu was implicated and got into a car accident. Although his injuries weren't serious, it wasn't necessary. You're already exhausted from Little Bean's accident. Now that he's in this state, how are you going to handle it? Su Yu's heart ached for Huamin. I'm okay, I'm really okay. As long as they're okay, I can handle it. Huamin nodded, exhausted. The two of them chatted in the hallway for a long time. Su Yu's heart was filled with guilt. He kept blaming himself for Little Bean's accident because he was too careless and allowed Jian Tong to do it. He also blamed himself for not dealing with Jian Tong sooner, which allowed her to take advantage of him and cause a disaster. 6 o'clock in the morning, Jiang Xiaowei, Wei Liao, Gao Ran, and Zhu Lingling rushed to South Side. When Gao Ran called Chin Chu again, it was Huamin who answered. She briefly explained the situation. In the end, the four of them rushed over. Oh my God, so many things happened in one night. How is Little Bean? Zhu Lingling was scared out of her wits. She's fine now. My mom is taking care of her. She hasn't woken up yet. How about Mr. Qin? Are his injuries serious? Jiang Xiaowei asked. It's not serious, just some internal injuries. He didn't sleep much last night and just fell asleep. Ji Xin is taking care of him. You didn't sleep last night either, did you? Jiang Xiaowei looked at Huamin with heartache. Huamin nodded. Lord Su, how could you make such a mistake? You shouldn't have. Wei Liao looked at Su Yu in disbelief. It was indeed incomprehensible that something happened to the twins at Su Yu's house. Su Yu treated the twins like his own father and took care of them in every possible way. The twins wanted the moon, but he would never give them the stars. However, the tragedy was that this time, it happened at Su Yu's house, and it was all because of Su Yu. It's my fault. I deserve to die. If anything happened to Little Bean, I wouldn't be able to face Mian. Su Yu still blamed himself. It already happened. It's not the time to blame anyone. Lord Su, don't take it to heart. We're lucky that the twins are fine. Jiang Xiaowei was an expert in psychology, so she understood how Su Yu felt. She didn't want to burden him anymore. Chin Chu was too reckless this time. How could he hit someone with his car? Even if he wanted to do it, he should have asked someone else to do it. Gao Ran frowned. Then, he looked at Huamin and asked, how's Jian Tong now? Is she dead? Chapter 2171. She's not dead. She's in the ICU, Huamin said faintly. What are you guys going to do next? Do you want to kill her? Gao Ran knew that this time, even if that bitch Jian died 10,000 times, it wouldn't be enough. To be honest, I don't know. My husband will take care of it. Huamin didn't know what to do either. Although she wanted to kill that bitch Jian Tong as well, she wouldn't act rashly. Plus, Mr. Qin bumped into her this time. Even if she didn't die, she would be half dead, that's good too. We need to take care of Little Bean now. You guys almost scared us to death. Zhu Lingling was still in shock. Everyone went to South Side to check on the kids and Chin Chu. They didn't leave until they saw that Little Bean was fine. Su Yu didn't sleep the whole night. He looked haggard, but he didn't want to leave. Go back to sleep. Little Bean is fine now. Huamin urged. I'm not sleepy yet. I want to go in and see her. Su Yu's voice was also hoarse. Then, come with me. Huamin hesitated for a moment before leading Suyu into the hospital room. Huamin's mother quietly left the room. Little Bean had just woken up, and the flush on her face had faded. "Mommy." "Handsome Su." Her voice was still soft and pleasant to the ears. "Little Bean, how do you feel now?" Suyu walked up and squatted on the hospital bed, holding Little Bean's little hand. "My stomach doesn't feel good, and my back hurts a little," Little Bean said as she reached out to touch her back. However, Huamin stopped her. He held Little Bean's hand and comforted her. "Don't be scared, baby. Daddy gave you an injection because you ate something bad and will get sick. That's why he gave you an injection and medicine for your own good. You have to be strong. I ate something bad. Looks like it was bitch Jian who gave me the soup," Little Bean carefully recalled. Huamin asked, "Little Bean, did you drink it yourself or did she make you drink it? What was the situation at that time?" Little Bean widened her big watery eyes and carefully recalled the scene at that time. Then, he slowly told them what had happened. Huamin and Suyu's faces darkened. "She really did see my daughter drink the soup with her own eyes. How could she be so vicious?" Huamin felt a chill in her heart. She thought that Jian Tong was just a hypocrite who liked to play dirty tricks behind people's backs. She didn't expect Jian Tong to be so vicious. Although she didn't make Jian Tong drink the soup, she did see her daughter drink it with her own eyes. She knew that Jian Tong had an aphrodisiac in it, but she still let her daughter drink it. "Little Bean, it's Uncle Su's fault. He gave the bad guys a chance to hurt you. Uncle Su will get justice for you, handsome Su. I'm fine. Don't worry, I've always been lucky. Last time, when Mommy and I were kidnapped and tied to a bomb, I wasn't." Ha! Little Bean tried to make a joke to ease everyone's tension. However, she found that her mommy and handsome Su's expressions became even more serious after she said that. "Mommy, where's Daddy?" Little Bean changed the topic. "Daddy's tired, he's sleeping in the room next door," Huamin comforted her. "Then, where's Sis?" "Sis is tired too, she's sleeping in Mommy's office. She'll come see you in a bit. Are you hungry? Do you want some congee?" Huamin leaned over and touched his daughter's head. He was relieved when he found that she didn't have a fever. Okay. "Mommy, I want congee with pork and century egg and beef dumplings." "Baby, you can't eat something so oily. You can only eat congee, but you can choose rice or millet," Huamin corrected her. Congee is tasteless. What's the difference between rice and millet?" "Mommy, are you kidding me?" Little Bean seemed unhappy. Huamion's heart was finally at ease when she saw Huamion come back to life. "I'm going out to buy some congee for Little Bean." Suyu stood up and left. Huamin noticed that Suyu's face was gloomy, and he seemed to be angry. Outside the ICU, when Suyu arrived, Jian Tong's agent and family members were all there. There were a lot of people outside the door. "President Su, you're here." Everyone greeted Suyu respectfully when they saw him. "What's the situation?" Suyu asked coldly. Chapter 2172. "President Su, you're just in time. I've called you many times." Jian Tong's agent looked at Suyu as if she saw her savior. Just as she was about to continue, the door to the ICU opened, and the doctor and nurse walked out. "Doctor, how's my daughter?" Jian Tong's mother asked in tears. "Miss Jian's injuries are very serious. Her internal organs are severely damaged, and she just had surgery. Many of her ribs are broken." Also, during the car accident, the glass shattered, and a lot of glass shards pierced her body and face. Although we've already done surgery to repair them, there might still be scars on her face. Also, the patient's emotions are very unstable, so we gave her a sedative. We suggest that you visit her in 24 hours. That's all. After the doctor's words, Jian Tong's parents and family members cried together. Her agent also wailed, "Why is Tong Tong's life so miserable? How could something like this happen to her?" She even had her assistant book a flight to Thailand for a vacation. How could she get into a car accident? Oh right, President Su, did you know? The person who hit Miss Jian was. Before the agent could finish, Su cut her off. I know who it was, I don't need you to tell me. Su cut her off mercilessly. Seeing Su-yu's attitude, the agent froze for a second before she continued to cry, "President Su, you have to get justice for Tong Tong. Even if GK is rich and powerful, they can't bully people like this. That's a crime punishable by murder. Don't talk nonsense if you don't know the truth." Were you there? Su-yu asked angrily. The agent was speechless. I'll take care of this. Before that, if you accept any media interviews or talk nonsense, you'll have to bear the consequences. Do you hear me? Su-yu warned angrily. President Su, is there an inside story? Jian Tong's parents understood Su-yu's meaning and stopped crying. They looked at Su-yu in confusion. You should wait until your precious daughter wakes up and ask her what she did. Then, Su-yu turned around and left. Because of Su-yu's order, the news of Jian Tong's car accident had been sealed off. Anyone who went overboard with this matter was also strictly controlled. After all, they didn't want to involve public opinion. When Su-yu heard that Jian Tong wasn't dead, he came to denounce her and listen to Little Bean's account of how she drank the soup. Su-yu wanted to strangle Jian Tong to death. He even thought that if Little Bean died, Jian Tong would have to die with her. This woman actually dared to harm a 3-year-old child. She was truly inhumane. Su-yu walked out of the hospital to buy porridge for Little Bean. Along the way, he was thinking about a question. Jian Tong didn't seem like an irrational person. Why would she do something so reckless? Could it be that she had harmed Little Bean? Would Qin Chu, Huamin, and himself let her go? You can't live with the evil you brought on yourself. Su-yu didn't dare to say anything else, but he knew that whether Jian Tong lived or died, she was done for. Even if Huamin could forgive that woman, he would never let her go. It seemed like Qin Chu was merciful this time. Otherwise, he would have killed her. Qin Chu bandaged his wound in the next room and got an anti-inflammatory shot. After a nap, he finally woke up. Brother-in-law, you're awake. I'll go get my sister. Seeing that Qin Chu had woken up, Jixin immediately ran next door and called Huamin. Huamin didn't sleep the entire night. His eyes were dry and swollen. Honey, how are you? Does it still hurt? Qin Chu shook his head. His lips were pale. Where's Little Bean? Little Bean woke up. She's fine now. I just checked on her. Her vitals are back to normal, that's good. After speaking, Qin Chu slowly got up. Don't move. Lie down and rest. Huamin ordered. I'm fine. It's not that serious. The child is fine. Let's not stay here. Prepare the medicine and go home. We'll leave the hospital and go home. After speaking, Mr. Qin pulled out the 4-drip from his hand. Honey, we're leaving the hospital now. Huamin was shocked. Chapter 2173. After a whole night, Chin Chu and Huamin were exhausted. Most importantly, Chin Chu didn't like the feeling of being in the hospital. It reminded him of the gray days when he was recovering in a foreign hospital after his leg surgery a few years ago. That was why he wanted to be discharged. Yes, discharged. I don't like it here. Chin Chu didn't say much, but he strongly wanted to leave the hospital. Okay. Huamin thought about it and agreed. In the end, he couldn't change Mr. Chin's mind, so he nodded in agreement. Chin Chu tried his best to stay upright. He walked to the next room and carried Little Bean out of the bed. Then, Huamin held Little Bean's hand and the family of 4 left the hospital. Huamin followed behind Chin Chu and suddenly realized how strong his husband was at that moment. He was willing to give up everything for his daughter. Now that he was holding his daughter home, he was full of fatherly love. When Suyu came back with the kanji, he saw the family get into the car and leave. Suyu wanted to call out to Huamin and give the kanji to Little Bean, but he hesitated. In the end, Suyu watched as the family of 4 left South Side. Suyu quietly left the hospital with the kanji and returned to the company. South Hill Manor. After a whole night, Little Bean was also tired. Little Bean had just recovered and didn't look very good. Huamin prepared the medicine from the hospital and injected it into Little Bean's body. Huamin's mother took care of the twins. Chin Chu and Huamin sat on the sofa in the living room upstairs. The atmosphere was heavy. Sis, brother-in-law, if there's nothing else, I'll go to the company first. Jixin was finally relieved to see that his brother-in-law and Little Bean had been discharged. Go ahead. You'll have to take care of the company for the next few days. If you can't make up your mind, you can discuss the small matters with Assistant Yang and Bella. If it's a big matter, you can call me or your brother-in-law. However, your brother-in-law is recuperating from his injuries, so it's better not to disturb his rest, Huamin said. I got it, sis, I'll be off then. Jixin then left for work. Huamin carefully disinfected Chin Chu's wounds with iodophor. His movements were very gentle. Honey, do you blame me? Chin Chu asked gently. Huamin paused and looked up. Blame you for what? It's my fault for being too reckless. I could have asked someone else to do it, but I insisted on doing it myself. I even got injured and made you worry about me. If I said that you knew that I blamed you, would you still do it? Huamin asked calmly. Yes, even if I had to do it all over again, would still do it. Chin Chu's attitude was extremely firm. Huamian nodded and said as she disinfected Chin Chu's wound, there's no point in blaming you because I knew you had to do it yourself. After Little Bean's accident, you've been suppressing your anger until you heard that it was because of Jian Tong's actions. The truth is, the two of us are just a little calmer than other people, but we're still humans and have emotions that we can't let go of. Therefore, when our loved ones are hurt, of course we're furious. Only when we do it ourselves will we feel better. You want to avenge your daughter, I understand how you feel. If it were me, I would probably do the same, just like how I arrogantly ran over Huasichen with my car. Although others might think that it's reckless, ridiculous, and even inappropriate, Mr. Chin, I want to say that I agree with what you did because the moment you ran over Huasichen with your car, you were just a father who wanted to avenge his child. Huamian's words deeply touched Chin Chu's heart. He reached out and pulled Huamin into his arms. Then, he placed her on his lap. I knew you knew me the best. Chin Chu whispered in her ear. Then, he gently kissed the loose hair behind her ear. Don't, we're in the living room, there are so many people watching. Huamin was shy. Chapter 2174. Honey, you're thinking too much again, aren't you? I really just want to hold you quietly. Really, sometimes I even want to do nothing and just be with you every day. That would be so blissful, living a simple and comfortable life and not caring about anything else. Chin-Chu said slowly. Of course, I agree. Hua-Min chuckled. Then wouldn't I be a freeloader? You don't despise me. Chin-Chu teased her on purpose. Pfft, you've been a freeloader for a long time now, okay? Hua-Min said proudly. Chin-Chu, ever since someone became the vice director, she's become more and more arrogant. I'm losing my status at home. Chin-Chu purposely mocked Hua-Min. So you should be glad that I'm the vice director. If President Wu retires in a few years, I'll become the director. Then I'll be able to go to heaven and no one will listen to me. Hua-Min pouted and continued to act arrogantly. It's okay, no matter where you go, I'll follow you closely. I'll definitely keep pace with you. Hua-Min laughed heartily when she heard this. Okay, then I'll try to walk slowly so that I don't lose you. Hua-Min, who hadn't slept a wink the entire night, finally fell asleep in Chin-Chu's arms. She knew that her child and husband were fine. Therefore, she let down her guard and fell asleep peacefully. Chin-Chu saw that she was sleeping soundly, so he didn't have the heart to wake her up. He carried her up and placed her on the sofa downstairs. Then, he took a blanket from Uncle Lee and covered Hua-Min with it. Sir, do you want a young lady to sleep in the room? Uncle Lee still felt that it was inappropriate to sleep in the living room. Chin-Chu shook his head. No, it's rare for her to sleep so well. You guys can go downstairs. Put on some light music. Oh, and put some incense here so that she can sleep more. Yes, sir. Uncle Lee sent all the servants away as instructed. Hua-Min fell asleep on the sofa. The small speaker in the living room was playing an old English song. The sound was very soft, but it was very charming. There was a small incense burner on the coffee table. Inside it was a high-quality incense burner. Hua-Min slept for more than 3 hours. She also had a beautiful dream. She dreamed that when she was very young, she and Jixin went to the countryside to play. There were clear rivers, small yellow wildflowers all over the mountains, free kites, and green rice fields. Chin-Chu was not sleepy at all. After seeing that Hua-Min had fallen asleep, he went upstairs directly. Chu, is your hand okay? Young Meirong asked with concern when she saw Chin-Chu walk in. I'm fine, Mom. You didn't sleep well last night either. Go get some rest. I'll take care of them. You're still injured. I'm not tired. Let me take care of them. Young Meirong knew that her son-in-law loved his daughters, but she was also worried about his injuries from the car accident. It's okay. It'll heal in 2 or 3 days. Plus, Mian just disinfected and bandaged it. It should be fine. Young Meirong nodded at Chin-Chu's insistence. She left the twins' room and went downstairs to prepare lunch. Pudding was already asleep. Her little body was curled up on one side of the bed. Little Bean, on the other hand, was not sleepy at all. Her big eyes were darting around. Her hand was still connected to N4. Daddy, you're here. Little Bean began to act cute. Even her voice was cute. When Mommy gave you the injection, did it hurt? Chin-Chu asked as he gently held Little Bean's chubby hand. Chapter 2175. It doesn't hurt. Mommy's skills are amazing. I didn't even feel anything. Plus, I'm so fat, but she found the blood vessels right away. She's awesome. Little Bean was naturally optimistic, so her tone was relaxed and funny. Chin Chu couldn't help but smile. Your mommy is such an excellent doctor. This is nothing to her. Daddy. I heard that you ran over Bimbo Jian with your car because of me and got hurt. Daddy, it's fine. It's just a scratch. Chin Chu comforted his daughter gently. Daddy loves Little Bean. Little Bean knows that. But Little Bean still hopes that Daddy can take care of yourself. Don't hurt yourself because of your emotions. Little Bean lectured Chin Chu like a little adult. Chin Chu replied patiently, Daddy didn't let his emotions get the better of him. She did something to hurt you, so Daddy has to teach her a lesson. At the mention of this, Little Bean suddenly asked, Daddy, did you hit Handsome Sue? Yeah. Will Little Bean be sad? Will you be unhappy because Daddy hit Sue you? Chin Chu asked carefully. Although he knew that his twin daughters loved him deeply, he wasn't as confident as Sue Yu. In fact, if his daughter said that she was unhappy, he wouldn't know how to continue the conversation. First of all, I won't be sad because Daddy hit Handsome Sue. Daddy loves you so much. It happened so suddenly that you and Mommy were worried sick. I was poisoned at Handsome Sue's house. It happened so suddenly that you weren't prepared for it. So, I think it's normal for you to blame Handsome Sue. I won't be unhappy because of that. Really? To be honest, Chin Chu was relieved that his daughter didn't blame him. Of course it's true. I never lie. Sometimes, I just like to suck up to you. Little Bean stuck out her tongue. Chin Chu smiled. But Daddy, can you stop blaming Handsome Sue? Now that the truth is out, we can't let Handsome Sue take the blame. He has nothing to do with this. In fact, what Bitch Jian did was outrageous. More importantly, Handsome Sue must be very sad about what happened to me. Although he doesn't love me as much as Daddy does, he has treated me and my sister like his own for the past few years. So, I really don't want Daddy, Mommy, and Handsome Sue to be estranged because of this. Daddy understands what you're saying. Daddy won't blame him. It's all in the past. Also, I really didn't know what was going on at that time. I only heard that you were poisoned and got anxious, so I beat him up. After I understood the situation, I wasn't so angry with him anymore. Chin Chu was just stating facts. Even if the child didn't say anything, he couldn't blame Sue Yu. Every wrong had its perpetrator, and every debt had its debtor. What Jian Tong did, he couldn't let an innocent person like Sue Yu bear the responsibility. I knew Daddy is the smartest, greatest, and wisest man in the world. Little Bean grinned. You only know how to flatter me. I haven't had the chance to scold you yet. Don't be so greedy in the future. You need to learn this from your sister. Luckily, your life wasn't in danger this time. Otherwise, how could your mommy and I live? Chin Chu pinched Little Bean's face. This really was a bloody lesson. You're right, I was too greedy. I even dared to eat the food that Bitch Jian gave me. I really don't know what else to say. But it's good. I'm very satisfied with this result. Satisfied with what? Chin Chu was surprised. He suddenly felt that he couldn't keep up with his daughter's logic. Chapter 2176. Although I almost died, Bitch Jian won't be able to make a comeback. This is an unexpected gain, Little Bean said. Chin Chu was completely speechless. His daughter was only 3 years old. Was it really okay for her to think so much? Daddy, is there something you find strange? What is it? Chin Chu was curious. Handsome Sue has been in the entertainment industry for so many years. He should have seen through a person's nature, but he couldn't see through bitch Jian. Little Bean said slowly. Chin Chu was silent for 3 seconds and looked at his daughter seriously. It's not that Sue you can't see through her. He saw through her a long time ago. He also knows what kind of person Jian Tong is. Sometimes, he just uses her as a shield or cannon fodder. Let's not talk about using her. They both take what they need. Jian Tong wants fame, money, and status, and Suyu just wants a woman who can escape from his heart. So, even if he knows that woman is a white lotus, he still indulges her. Plus, before this, Jian Tong didn't do anything out of line. Chin Chu calmly analyzed Suyu's thoughts. Reality proved that he was right. Suyu wasn't an idiot. He saw through everything. He just didn't want to embarrass Huamin. So, he and Jian Tong had been acting. At that time, Suyu was using Jian Tong to create hype. Jian Tong was very obedient and understanding. After all, Suyu was a man. He felt guilty for doing this. So, even if he didn't like Jian Tong, he still wanted to make it up to her in terms of money, fame, and career. Plus, Jian Tong was one of the most popular actresses in Imperial Star. Suyu always thought that she knew what she was doing. He had never expected such a thing to happen this time. So it was indeed unfair to blame Suyu now. He couldn't always look at things from other people's perspective. After all, no one was in Suyu's position. Daddy, I can see that you're a wise man. You didn't look at handsome Sue as a love rival, and you didn't blame him for what happened. Now I know why Mommy likes you so much. Little Bean looked at her father with admiration. Why? Chin Chu felt that the little bean was about to start sucking up to him again. Sure enough, Little Bean gave him a thumbs up. Daddy, you're a broad-minded person who can achieve great things. You have a clear, calm, and long-term vision. In other words, if handsome Sue were to look at Daddy, he wouldn't be so impartial. Daddy, I suddenly feel that being your daughter is the happiest thing that has ever happened to me and my sister. So, the two of you must have saved the Milky Way in your previous life. Chin Chu smiled. Daddy, who saved the Milky Way? Little Bean woke up in a daze. She was finally woken up by her daddy and little sister's conversation. Daddy saved the Milky Way. That's why I met you two and your mommy in my previous life. Chin Chu changed his words. Oh. Daddy, you're so smart. You changed your words as soon as you saw my sister wake up. Little Bean laughed. Little Bean got up and turned to look at her sister's foredrip. Daddy, Little Bean's medicine is almost out. Do you want to get me another one? I'll keep an eye on it. It'll be fine. Chin Chu's heart was filled with warmth when he saw the sisters loving each other when they weren't quarreling. Suyu also didn't sleep that night. He forced himself to go to the company, but he wasn't in the mood to do anything. After handing the foredrip to him, he drove to Wei Liao's company. Is President Wei in his office? Suyu asked listlessly at the front desk of the Wei family group. Chapter 2177. President Wei is here. President Su, please go upstairs. The receptionist didn't dare to be slow. The truth was, they should be drinking with Tang Chuan and getting drunk. However, Tang Chuan was extremely unreliable. In order to pursue Qin Ning, he went to the States alone. It was said that after he arrived, he started to freeload at Qin Ning's house. He even followed Qin Ning to and from work and worked as an errand boy at GK Corporation. What was even more surprising was that Qin Ning's father, Qin Chu's second uncle, didn't kick him out. Qin Chu's uncle even treated him warmly. This was one of the few stories in the world. Wei Liao was also quite busy at the company. However, he had one good thing about him: no matter how busy he was, he wouldn't leave work. After work, he wouldn't attend any events. Instead, he would go home and spend time with his wife and children. Wei Yinchu's personality was similar to Wei Liao's. He didn't talk much, but he was very smart. He wasn't as logical as his mother, Jiang Xiaowei, but he was still young and needed to be trained. "You don't look well." In Wei Liao's office, the two of them were drinking whiskey. Wei Liao looked at Su Yu's haggard face and couldn't help but ask. "Yeah, I haven't slept for a day and a night." "Then why aren't you sleeping? Why did you come out to drink?" "I don't feel well. I feel like something's pressing down on my heart." Su Yu held a glass of whiskey in one hand and pointed at his heart with the other. "Are you feeling guilty towards Huamin because of what happened to Little Bean? Or are you afraid that this will cause a rift between you and Huamin or the twins?" Wei Liao immediately saw the crux of the problem. Su Yu didn't say anything. Instead, he downed the whiskey in his glass and sighed. "Both. You know that I wasn't afraid of anything before, but now that I'm older, I'm more afraid. Does Huamin blame you?" Wei Liao asked tentatively. Su Yu smiled bitterly. "If only you were willing to blame me. Don't you know her? She's always like that. She won't say anything and she's always shouldering everything on her own. She doesn't blame me, but I can see that she's suffering. I hate myself. Why am I such a coward? I can't even take care of the kids. It's the first time Pudding and Little Bean stayed over at my house, and something like this happened. I really don't have the face to face them." In fact, Siyu really wanted to see Little Bean and talk to her, but in his heart, he kept avoiding her because he was scared. It was as if too much guilt had captivated his heart, causing him to not dare to face it. He was afraid of losing them. He was afraid that the twins would not be so close to him in the future. He was afraid that Huamin would distance himself from him because of this. After all, he had too little, whether it was the twins or Huamin, he did not have a suitable identity. To put it nicely, your Uncle Su. To put it bluntly, you're nothing. Therefore, Siyu was under a lot of psychological pressure, causing him to feel extremely negative emotions. "Lord Su, to be honest, you're not like yourself anymore." Wei Liao sighed as he held on to his wine glass. "Actually, ever since I met Huamin 4 years ago, I've become less and less like myself." Wei Liao remained silent. Siyu was a person who placed too much importance on love. Therefore, he was willing to go through fire and water for Huamin. In the past 4 years, he had done so much for her, but in the end, he still stayed with her without any complaints or regrets. Even now, he was still protecting Huamin's daughters. Not many men in the world could do this kind of love, right? But you're going to get married and have kids. If you insist on doing this, is it really okay? Wei Liao rarely tried to persuade Su Yu to give up on Huamin. After all, he was not as straightforward and hot-tempered as Tang Chuan. Therefore, Wei Liao spoke very tactfully. He wanted Su Yu to see the truth. The truth was, no matter what he did or how hard he tried, Huamin would never be with him. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.